Good morning, one and all, and welcome back to Fridays at the Damage Report with me, John Iadarola, and a slightly vaguely anthropomorphic garbage can, and Brett Erlich. Brett, how's it going?
I was an anthropomorphic major in college. I tried everything. I don't know if no one can see it. Anyways, don't worry. I had a whole funny bit that I forgot about until we were about to start, and it just didn't work out the way I wanted to. So I apologize to everyone for not just like being super hilarious right now. I really let everyone down. And
like
next week,
you could have just said hi, John, and then I would have rolled on. Like I think you expect the expectations for you a bit high.
Let's just say the following has happened right before shows on this network when anyone makes the mistake of asking me to be on them. So just now I tried to pull off a bit, could have just gone normal, but it kind of made me stumble. So now I'm flailing and I could have kept it together, you're right, but instead I'm overcorrecting. I sat in for Dr. Richey, the beginning of the week, which feels like 2 and 3 weeks ago. And his opening credit song is this trap beat that makes you want to dab. And when I dabbed, I got my hand caught in my headphones and pulled my microphone out, unplugged the thing it plugs into, and it was like dangling off the side of my desk, and I couldn't hear or really, I couldn't tell if I was hearable to anyone. It was just horrible. So I'm just a different person this week than I normally am. But John, I'm gonna try to get back in the saddle and ride off into the sunset with you and the Dragon Squad today. Because it's Friday, damn it.
I'm glad about that, but let's just have fun. You feel like you're bearing this great burden. Set it down. It'll be easier to get up on the salad once you set down this burden. But anyway, yes, it was
salad
very
instead of saddle, and it might be my favorite thing, my favorite image. You can get back up on the salad whenever you want.
It's soft. Crawl up onto it. Anyway, okay, what brief final thought do you have? What?
Brief final thought. Tonight at 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern, John Iadarola will be in the common room. I'll be in the common room. What?
Right, we'll see how this goes.
Adiana Vega will be in the common room, and Luke Null from season 44, I think, of Saturday Night Live will be in the common room, and we will be answering such questions as at what point in your life did you realize your parents were just as stupid as you were? That's one of Luke's questions, and we'll answer it today. So join us at twitch.tv/TYT at 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern tonight.
Yes, very exciting. Well, we've got a lot to get to on this program as well. So thank you everyone for joining us. Please hit the like button and share the stream if you haven't already. And as we go through the next 90 minutes of news, we'll be taking some breaks, responding to your comments, tweets, super chats, all of that. So feel free to send those in. Early heads up, let you know a few things that are happening later on today. First of all, on Twitch, Galaxy Brain with Ben Crollo, who joined me on the program yesterday. That'll be going live at 4 p.m. Eastern time, 1 p.m. Pacific time. And then inconveniently at the exact same time at youtube.com/TYT Sports, Ricky Strom will be going live with sports and gaming and politics and other things. So you can open up 2 tabs or you can choose, but choose wisely. Galaxy Brain and TYT Sports taking up your afternoon today. So anyway, with that, Brett, why don't we jump into the news?
Sure.
I think that was as brief and as smooth as nice. Some of the early census results are now in, and we've been wondering what is going to happen. I mean, we only get one of these every decade, and they're incredibly significant, not only for giving us information about how America is changing and shifting as the years go by, but of course, very soon, the information we'll be discussing here is going to be translated into gains and losses in political power, in states and in the federal government. So we're gonna talk about both aspects of that, the change and some of what we think we know about how it might affect politics. Let's start off with some of the top level analysis. Overall population growth slowed dramatically over the past decade. The growth that did occur, an increase of about 23 million people, which still sounds like a lot of growth, was made up entirely of people who identified themselves as Hispanic, Asian, Black, or more than one race, according to the data, the first racial and ethnic breakdown from the 2020 census. So let's talk about how each of some of these groups has changed over time. The white population in the United States, for the first time on record, declined over the course of the decade. And what's interesting is that if you compare, still number one as a group, but if you take a look at the results we believe we have for now, and then go back 10 years and go back 20 years, what effectively has happened is back 20 years ago, non-Hispanic white respondents made up 69.1% of the population. 10 years later, that had dropped 5.5 points. 10 years after that, it's dropped about another 5 points. So about 10 points in 20 years. So that's a significant difference. Over the same period, the black population grew by about 6%, an increase that represented about 1/10 of the overall growth. So, yeah, what's interesting is that it's as a percentage of the population. If you look at the overall percentage of the US population that identifies as black, it has been fairly consistent at 12% over the past 20 years. So in any event, the racial makeup of the country changing quite a bit. Those identifying as Hispanic has grown to almost 20% in the most recent numbers. And interestingly, Asian respondents have grown from just 3.6% of the population 20 years ago to 5.9% of the population in the most recent data, which is still a small segment of the US population, but it's a very significant amount of growth for the population, nearly doubling in just 20 years. So Brett, initially, what do you think about this?
I love when the census comes out because it's just a lot of weird feelings, and you're looking around at all people's reactions, which are either like kind of racist or at the very least like identity politics relishing or ruining. Like that is my favorite part of it, where like all the headlines in the wake of this are, it's really good news for Democrats. And just implicit in that is a whole bunch of things that you kind of have to do in the wake of a census. The census is what drives redistricting. It happens every 10 years. And then the other aspect of it, it's the census plus whoever's in charge of every state at the time. From a party perspective, either breaking down or strengthening their gerrymandered hold on a state. And so it's fascinating. It's weird. I will say, like I'm just like, when I see fewer white people, for some reason, there's like a part of me that's like, I guess that's my team. Do I feel bad because we're losing, or do I feel good because we're like all winning together to have a more diverse thing? But I can't, like, there's something about a census that gives you a score where I feel like I have to I'm either winning or losing in some way, and I don't know how to translate that. I'm just like yeah, Lakers in the news, got to have the Lakers win. I'm white. What are the white people doing, I guess? But like, I'm Jewish white. Do they even like me? Like, what is that?
I get the urge. It's just a reflection. This is gonna be one of the weirdest analogies, but I spent a lot of time on Reddit, and it's very common on some subreddits to like celebrate when they reach certain levels of like, hey, we've got 10,000 people, or we've got 100,000. And I always felt like, well, what does that mean really? Like, it's just, yeah, it's growing, I guess. But like, why are you making such a big, I never understood it. But anyway, what I worry is that you're gonna see a whole bunch of that coming up in a negative direction. So when you see that the non-Hispanic white population has dropped below 60%, I don't know how Fox is going to respond to that in the short term or in the long term. I think the increased diversity is an obvious good. I think that the backlash from conservative whites is going to be multi-threaded and devastating. So I am worried about that. That's one of the things that I immediately thought when I saw these results, Brett.
And it'll be on multiple fronts. It'll be like explicit from some, and then a lot of folks will just like sit and stew in it. Like, oh yeah. And that's I think that's the nature of racism in America. Like, there are going to be people who are racist, and within that population, there's gonna be people who are overtly racist, who are gonna say this and see this and be like, this happened, can you believe it? We're losing, we gotta win. And then there's gonna be other people who don't say that out loud, but then every turn when they encounter something, they'll think about this. They'll be at a Marshall's and they'll look, I mean, because I'm seeing all these Karen videos, they'll be at a Marshall's and they'll look at someone who like may have gotten a shirt before the person themselves got a shirt, and suddenly this will be the front on which the race war plays out.
Yeah.
Because it's just implicitly there. It's another thing where, in a world where it's racial, it's socioeconomic, it's political, all the reasons you may be winning or losing in your mind and in reality, this census data gives a lot of opportunists the opportunity to make it racial. And that's what you'll see moving forward.
Yeah, and well, I definitely think so. And I mean, like Tucker Carlson has been talking nonstop about the great replacement theory.
Yeah.
Before this data came out. Like, if you don't think he's gonna pick it up and run really awkwardly with it, then yeah, you haven't been watching Fox News. Now that said, let's turn to some of the political implications. As the census data is coming in, it is clear that some areas are growing faster than others. Both because of immigration from outside of the United States, but also populations inside of the United States moving from one area to another. So let's talk about some of the ways that that's manifesting. So first of all, Philadelphia is now the 6th largest city in the US. It has been bumped from 5th by Phoenix, which was the fastest growing of the top 20 largest cities. Its population rose by 11.2% in just this last decade. So Phoenix has been growing very fast, but not the fastest. That goes to The Villages, a retirement community in Florida, the fastest growing metropolitan area in the entire country. And look, I'm gonna say I don't know a lot about The Villages aside from when it occasionally pops up in the news, but that doesn't seem immediately like great news. I don't know, Brett, is that irrational to think that that Florida getting bigger in any way is probably gonna have negative consequences for America?
I mean, it's a physical aggregator of an aging population. The Villages is like a large scale retirement community for all intents and purposes. It's my ideal retirement community just because they have golf carts and there could be lions roaming free on the streets, and I'd still be happy about it because I'd be able to drive a golf cart everywhere. There's something fun about that. But that is, I think that's the big takeaway. If we're talking census, if we're talking demographics, it is a place. Like the main challenge, I don't know if you're gonna get to this, but the main challenge is an urbanizing population. So people are moving from rural areas to urban. And when you say urban, there's a lot of places where that's a code word for just like racially diverse, but I literally just mean in this situation,
a city.
Like a city. People are moving to cities, which if you think the districts are gerrymandered and weird looking now, just wait a second, because it's all gonna be like a giant city that's this big. And they're either going to draw rings around it, so that all the suburban areas outside are one district, or it's gonna be like bicycle spokes. It's gonna be the center city with a tiny little area that pokes in for a certain group, and it might come in like a finger and then just go out into rural sprawling areas radially, like pieces of a pie. That's what's gonna be what they look like. So you're still gonna have wildly gerrymandered districts, and you're gonna see them look crazier and crazier in these specific states that a lot of us conceive to be purple, where they've been able to do it on a state level, where the state legislature is disproportionately represented by Republicans when compared to like the overall popular vote. And they're just gonna make it weirder and weirder because they're in charge of drawing these lines, and there is no federal mechanism or like universal mechanism state by state that will allow people to check these for partisan gerrymandering, period.
Yeah, now there could be, we could pass the For the People Act. The Democrats have it entirely within their power to do that, but it's probably not gonna happen, so you're right. Yeah, and I was thinking about this recently, how crazy is it? I know that there's a lot about American democracy that's crazy, but we had a time, go back just a few years, and the Republicans were fairly overrepresented already in terms of they're only so popular, they have more power. So since then, they lost the House, they lost the presidency, they lost the Senate. And after all of that losing, they're gonna be even more overrepresented than they were before. So somehow Democrats overcoming all of these hurdles and gaining political power in some ways can't, and in other ways, as we were just alluding to, won't stop a continued like accumulation of political power in an increasingly unpopular minority party. But that's
great.
unfortunate in our country.
I mean, it's just like greenhouse effect. Like that's what's crazy about it.
Is it?
It intensifies, it's bad, and then it just intensifies because, the same way that like greenhouse gases trap heat and we keep creating heat, it compounds on itself.
That's true.
The insulating factor of gerrymandering and disproportionate representation in those states makes it worse and worse.
Yeah.
It's fascinating.
It is fascinating, and as I've been saying, we also want to get an idea of how this is going to translate into political power. And so, thankfully, Brett and I are experts on that. No, we're not. I don't know. I'm just going to be looking to those who apparently are for whatever reason. So, some of the people who either have it as their official job or have a reputation of most of the time getting some things right, grains of salt all over the place, have responded to the census data saying things like this. So Dave Wasserman said, early read, based on the strong urban and weaker rural numbers I'm seeing, this is a much more favorable census count than minority advocacy groups and Dems had feared. He went on to say Democrats have reason to be happy. He cited the higher than expected population tallies in New York and Chicago and the steady growth of the nation's Hispanic population. So what that's a reference to is something that if you've been watching the show for a long time, we've done like 50 videos about this over the past few years. Many Democrats had feared that Latino and urban voters would be badly undercounted amid the coronavirus pandemic and the Trump administration's effort to ask about citizenship status. So there were a lot of reasons over the past few years to think that some populations might be significantly undercounted. It is still entirely possible that that has happened, whether it's Hispanic voters or young voters or voters in particular cities. But so far, the results don't scream out that that is likely what happened. And to focus on just a couple areas, Georgia is just 50.1% non-Hispanic white now. That has been dropping. It could be majority minority, since a lot of these results are coming from more than a year ago. So in terms of the Democrats' odds of maintaining those Senate seats, that's going to help them by a couple percentage points. So in terms of some of this early stuff, Brett, what do you think?
I mean, the way the census handles Hispanic as a term, as a concept, is one of the most fascinating things about the census, which itself is very boring and very tedious. Other, ethnicities, races, or whatever, as they boil down to white, Hispanic, Black, Asian, those are very cut and dry. But as people hear like non-Hispanic white, I don't know about this last one, but traditionally it's been like Hispanic Black, Hispanic white, but it's not. It's different from white, Black, Asian. It's kind of this weird floating category. So that's one aspect of it that I think is just very interesting. It's like, why is this race different from all others? That's one part of it. The Black group, I just want to say, staying at the same percentage of the population, I just want to call out like, oh, dear Republicans, I thought the whole thing was they were having a bunch of kids so they could get on welfare. So really, there should be a larger percentage of the population based on how you have characterized Black people in America going back decades and decades, if not centuries and centuries, essentially.
Yeah.
That's another thing. But the census is very strange. It's so important because it's how we draw up lines for representation. And then it's so boring because it's just counting a lot of people. But
I know, and obviously that makes it a risky A block, like starting off the census, but I find it fascinating and it is super important. Like the stakes were super important. We did a lot of talking about it, as I said, and we are going to see what happens. I hope that talk about all this puts more pressure on the Democrats to pass the For the People Act. It probably will not come to pass, but obviously a lot is riding on this.
And the last part about the Hispanic population as it relates to electoral politics is you turn on any big news station and they will say the Hispanic population translates to votes for Democrats, which is just not as true as they want you to believe it is for various reasons. One, it's not like a uniform chunk of people.
In any way, yeah.
They all speak the same language, but does that put Americans on the same, are we the same as people from Belize because they speak English there? Like, is that, would you equate those two? Or are they Latin Americans? Like that's a big question mark. But that's how people lump them together. But you have a lot of differing circumstances, largely due to the nature of American interventionism and how people feel about Republicans and Democrats. You got Cubans, you got people who are fleeing certain countries that either America set up or has tried to set up the governments of and failed. So it's not a uniform block. And then there's differing opinions on immigration as a key voter issue based on whether you want more or don't want more, because your family either got through and you don't want others to get through, or you went through the, people are like, I went by the rules. This is similar to how people feel about college debt forgiveness.
Agreed. Okay, we'll be talking more about it in the future. For now, though, we do have to take our first break, so we'll be back in just a sec. Riallen said in the chat, D Block is about to be undercounted. That was pretty good. Anyway, okay, let's see what's going on out there in the audience. Chris Nesbitt on YouTube said, you didn't have to dab, Brett.
You obviously haven't had like direct to the dome, very loud headphones during the intro for Indisputable.
It is pretty invigorating.
Ding. Brooke found it, sent
Really?
it to Dr. Richey, and he was like, that's the one.
Yeah. I thought that, I don't know, I used to think that ours was gonna get you fired up, and then there's the 1-2 punch of JR saying it was, my Sharona, and now Indisputable. All of a sudden, don't sound so good anymore.
John,
anyway,
it gets me going. John, don't worry, it gets me pumped. It gets me hyped.
I'm glad. We really do need to update that intro. I swear to God, I have written it into my Google Keep to do that 1,000 times, and I never remember. Anyway, over on YouTube, Charlene upgraded their membership to tier 2. Thank you, Charlene. With that level of membership, you get access to our top 10 list as well as the emojis. Okay, Sophie Shipper says, Governor Remdesivir, a bad limerick. Ronnie, if it's your intention to capture DJ Trump's attention, you'll get it, I'm sure, by saying a pound of cure is as good as an ounce of prevention. Okay, it's been a very long time since I've done a limerick. I didn't do it at the right pace, but that was pretty good. I like it. Franklin Sharpslicer, consider yourself on notice. There's another poet out there. Anyway, Franklin did send in a super chat though, saying, John and Brett, a good combo, you bet. Maybe we should plan now and then. Survival skills before year 10. Store tree seeds, work a garden, group together as a resolve hardens. Dragons unite as we fight. I don't think it's come to that point yet, but do appreciate the poem. Thank you.
That is one complex rhyme scheme.
It was
sharply sliced indeed.
Yeah, do you think any, so obviously a lot of artists, you have your art and then it gets out there. And I don't know, maybe like you wrote a script and then it has to be filtered through a director or whatever. But Franklin has to have all of his words filtered through me. That's gotta be so frustrating. Anyway.
It's tough to sight read poems.
It
just is.
And I haven't pre-read them, so I think I do okay.
But you know what I mean, sight read.
I know what you mean. Raja Harris says, hey, John and Brett, it's my 40th birthday today. B-Day request. It's a song called Nickel Bags by Digital Planets. Will you give a listen?
Takeable Planets.
Nickel Bags. Okay, I will take a listen and happy birthday. How much time do we have? Oh my God, the first 3 minutes went by fast. Let's see. Tina says Mike Liddell.
Time just flies. When we hang out, time flies.
It does. Mike Liddell looks like Paul Bearer from WWE. That is, look, Tines, that is both offensive and obviously true. Obviously. He looks more like Paul Bearer than Paul Bearer ever did. Anyway.
You're gonna sleep forever.
So bad. Okay, let's see. Susan Sprague says, did you see that Legal paid for a Giuliani cameo? Look it up, it's fun. Love y'all from Canada. Thank you.
I hate that channel. That guy's so fake.
Okay, I don't know. I haven't watched it, but we wanted to do that, but I looked up the price and I was like, not for a bit, not $275. Apparently, Legal brings in more bucks than I do because I can't afford that. Anyway, 12 seconds. Oh God, there's no time. There's a lot of great super chats, so we will catch up in a little bit, but we got a bunch of news, including on Matt Gaetz. So we'll be back in just a few. April, consider yourself shouted out. I saw your Twitch chat. Anyway, before we jump into the news, of which we have a few things I want to remind you of. First of all, I will be, interesting. So I'm gonna be on the power panel. Yeah. Is this accurate? It's Adrian and Michael still, right? Right, Brett?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, this hasn't been updated. Anyway, Michael Shore and Adrian Lawrence will both be there. We're gonna be doing the first hour. JR will be taking over, and Brett, who will he be joined by?
JR will be joined by Francesca and Nando.
That sounds awesome. Definitely tune in, enjoy that. Now, today, if you want to watch that power panel, you can watch it at youtube.com/The Damage Report. But this will be the last day of what is called the multicast. Starting on Monday, to watch the Young Turks live stream, which you freely can. You don't need to be a member of anything, a subscriber of anything like that. You will have to go to youtube.com/The Young Turks. So just bear that in mind for the start of next week. And as always, after our program is over and before all that awesome content we talked about earlier, Indisputable will be coming up. You will have Dr. Rashad Richey. He might dab and destroy his audio equipment, but it's gonna be an awesome show. So that's coming up in just a little bit. Now with that, I was gonna say who the co-host was, but I don't think this document's been updated, so I'm a little bit worried about it. Brett, who is?
Waz.
Oh, it is Waz. Okay.
There's a last minute cancellation. It's Waz again today.
Awesome, great. Always good to have Wazi on there. Okay, with that, why don't we jump into the news? Matt Gaetz is out there just waiting, as we all are, to find out what the investigators have been able to get from Joel Greenberg. Well, we have gotten a little bit more information now. It isn't much necessarily in the grand scheme of things, but it certainly doesn't look good for him, although it could be worse. So let's get into a little bit of what Joel Greenberg, who has previously been described by Matt Gaetz as his wingman, had to say. So he's apparently given prosecutors years worth of electronic cash transactions and thousands of pictures and videos as part of a broad sex trafficking probe. That's a lot of pictures and videos. Google Voice messages from back in September of 2018 reveal how Greenberg met online with women for him and Gaetz to meet in person. Greenberg allegedly discussed payment options with one woman who was of legal age and asked if she would take drugs before setting up a meeting between himself, Gaetz, the woman, and one of her friends. So let's go into a few of these text messages. Joel Greenberg said, "I have a friend flying in and we are trying to make plans for tonight. What are your plans for later? And how much of an allowance will you be requiring? Smiley face. This is getting awkward." The woman responded by telling Greenberg she has, quote, "a friend who introduced me to the website that I could bring and said she usually requires $400 per meet." Greenberg told the woman that Gaetz was down here only for the day. He continued, "We work hard and play hard." He then asked her if she had ever tried MDMA. He provided no citations for the working hard portion of that assertion, but whatever. Anyway, as Greenberg was discussing payment for the get together, the woman asked if Gaetz used the same website Greenberg had used to beat her. Greenberg replied in part, "He knows the deal," smiley face. Greenberg then said he would book a suite downtown for the gathering. So, Brett, what we see there is communications by Greenberg, not by Gaetz. And while obviously what they're trying to set up is illegal, it isn't involving a woman who is younger than 18. So it's hardly good news for Matt Gaetz, but so far this really does seem like it could have been worse for him.
It seems like it could have been worse.
Well, they could have been talking about a woman that they know is 16 or something.
There was a time when, as a small government Republican, you'd get in a scandal if your best friend was a tax collector. I feel like we're missing this. Like Joel Greenberg is a tax collector. Just all the tiny details about this reveal what a fake ass Matt Gaetz is. His best role boy that he wants to turn into like some big Congress person he thinks would be good for Congress is setting up illegal interactions with illegal drugs. Hashtag rule of law.
Yeah.
This is role boy. So I'm at the one point, it is useless to point out hypocrisy, but I think it's helpful to identify who's a fake ass. And Matt Gaetz is a huge, weird brown suit wearing fake ass.
I hope he's on the Wikipedia page for fake ass. I really
he is. He's just such a fake ass. And so all these things that as Tucker Carlson nightly clutches pearls, and Laura Ingraham, what kind of an example is this? Oh, in brown suit, tan suit from our dear friend, Barack Obama. Like, how dare it happen? Matt Gaetz and his tax collector roll boy are embroiled in an investigation where we know they refer to the payment for sex as a quote allowance.
An allowance.
Which is so daddy creepy.
It could have been, at least he didn't say like, for ice cream money. Like that's about it, the only thing that could have been worse. Oh, yeah. So look, you're right. You are right. And what's wrong with me? Like, okay, so they're doing illegal drugs. They're, like they're paying prostitutes. That's it. Yes, I am broken. Okay, now of course, look, the undercurrent that we have always woven into every one of these stories is I don't think MDMA should be illegal. I don't think that prostitution should be illegal. It should be regulated, obviously, to protect the predominantly women that engage in it. But that said, these are not Matt Gaetz's positions, at least not stated. Now, if they were, we might have a different story aside from the stuff with raping girls that he's alleged to have done. If he was saying, look, yes, everything that you've seen so far is true. I did frequent the services of a prostitute. I did do MDMA. I believe all of it should be legal. And if you want to send me to jail, I will go as a political prisoner because I believe it's important that these things get legalized, taken out of the shadows so that the people engaged in them could be protected. But he's nowhere near that. And so we come off of Cuomo rightly resigns for all the things he's done. Matt Gaetz he's probably not even gonna be asked questions about this most recent date. Isn't it a weird set of double standards? They should both be out of government for the rest of their lives.
I've been a very staunch proponent of double standards because having more of anything is good. So twice as many standards, why not?
That's true.
I'm for as many standards as possible, especially when they benefit me personally and hurt my opponent in the long run. I just don't see
even if just in a petty way.
But there's a very real aspect of that is just setting expectations. And it really comes down to this. We don't wear like tuxedo, we don't wear 3-piece suits to walk to the grocery store anymore.
Yeah.
There's a certain expectation of politicians that's archaic at this point. It's out of date. For a lot of us, that the politicians, when they do speak like politicians, to us, that is just, it sounded okay because they were all talking like that. When you would hear, it used to be when you listen to an investigation, like if you're watching the investigation or the hearing for Clarence Thomas and an era where all the politicians are talking the same way and all of the lawyers are talking the same way, all the witnesses are talking the same way, where you absorb it and you're like, this is how everyone talks. It's like when you're watching like a Shakespeare play. It's not weird because they're all talking like Shakespeare in this outdated way. Now in politics, there's Shakespearean actors, and then there's like Mamet people, they're not even there's just people who are saying, "Yo, what's up, Tybalt? Why you gotta stab that guy?" That's what it's like, and
we've reached peak Shakespeare here.
But that dissonance. But that dissonance for a handful of people, for a substantial portion of at least the Republican viewing audience is refreshed by that. And that won because as the media itself evolves, as the society itself, if it doesn't evolve, it at least progresses and finds new iterations of itself. Folks have, you kind of exposed. Like it's like when Austin Powers exposed that James Bond was getting ridiculous. And now you can't look at James Bond the same way. You have a lot of people like Trump who are out there on stage with 17 other Republicans and just make fun of them for talking like weird politicians. And that resonated. And Matt Gaetz is trying to capitalize on that. He's adjusted expectations. So when you find out that he's been accused of allegedly trafficking underage girls, he's brought your expectations down so far that it isn't as weird as something in you believes it should be.
Yes. Yeah, and buttressed by things like the fact that their base has been trained to believe that all of these accusations are always made up. except when it's on the other side, then it's totally legit. And to think that it's cool in some way, like they want it to be illegal for other people, but they kind of think that it's cool when like one of their people gets away with it. But yeah, you are totally right. So we'll see if any of it catches up to him. People in the chat were like, John, don't give him ideas, but like in my idea, he's in jail. So isn't that something? I don't know. Anyway, with that, let's move on to one of the most ridiculous stories that I've seen in a long time. We're gonna launch right into this video.
But some of the crazy things in it. Let's plant flowers on the side of the road. Let's study impact collisions between animals and humans on the road. What about the windmills? The windmills kill so many birds, and yet they're taking us toward the Green New Deal.
Yeah, well, and another part of that Green Deal is the huge solar farm that they have out on the border of California and Nevada, thousands of acres of concave mirrors that magnify the sun toward 3 towers, heat up the liquid in there and turn turbines. But they weren't anticipating that there would be hundreds and thousands of what they would call flamers, because when the birds fly through, if they survive the windmills, then they hit that magnified sun, explode in flame, and down they go, bird guts all over the mirrors. So that takes some cleaning up. This is the green stuff that's just out of control.
That got weird at the end. I don't know why the guts there, but anyway, this is the green stuff. I don't know if he's still talking about the guts or if he's being even more dismissive of the Green New Deal than Nancy Pelosi famously was. But anyway, that is Louie Gohmert. One-upping that straight-faced OAN reporter with her flowers on the side of the road in talking about the flamers. The fact that you say you want renewable energy, clean energy, but clean energy is mass bird murder, if you even believe that birds are real. So here is the most surprising thing. No, Brett, you can respond. I'm gonna tell you what I was shocked to find out. But first, what's your reaction to the flamers comment?
I love it. Louie Gohmert's like there's birds on fire. Their guts getting all over my solar farms.
They got another one.
What's your complaint? Like for all the time when they're like, I can't believe the tiger shrimp are the reason we can't put this dam here and flood a town. Now they're like, save the flamers. Save the birds. I don't want to have to clean up that mess. At the same breath, she's like, they care about, I can't believe they care about like roadkill. And then they're like, how dare there be hot birds, hot wings everywhere. Hashtag hot wings for all. Like, what's your complaint? Like, what are you mad? Like,
it's very doubt they care about the dead birds. But here is the most shocking thing you will hear on this episode of season 1 of the Damage Report, or possibly any other episode in this season. Everything Louie Gohmert said there, not everything, most of what he said there is true.
Yeah,
I was shocked to find out there are some gaps there and some issues we'll get into. But a 2014 report by CBS looked at a solar facility in California's Mojave Desert where roughly 6,000 birds die each year. The report cited a federal investigation of 3 Southern California solar facilities that they said act as a mega trap, attracting insects, which in turn attract insect-eating birds, which are then incapacitated. No word on why the insects don't turn into flamers. And anyway, in this report, the birds were referred to as streamers, which is, and I did research, the closest I was able to find in any of this to flamers. So I don't know where the flamers come from. I don't know if he'd recently eaten at Kenny Rogers Roasters. I don't know. But anyway,
John, you know, a Republican
he's stupid
congressperson using that word.
No,
I feel like
it can't be.
So listen, my dad, there used to be this electronics store called The Good Guys, and my dad would be like, the two guys. We have the two guys. Can we go to the two? Is it the two guys? Is it the best two? Like you kind of mix things that are kind of floating around in your mind if you can't exactly remember it. And so he couldn't remember streamers. So he dropped another word that sounded like it that was already in his vocab. Yeah. If you know what I mean.
I get what you're saying. No word yet on who his favorite Twitch flamers are. We've got some coming up later on TYT actually. Anyway, so look, that was the 6,000. According to a study from back in 2016, roughly 140,000 birds die annually in the United States because of solar power plants. So there's a lot of streamers out there, a lot of flamers. Here's the thing. Everything he said other than the flamers thing is true. And even more surprising, references actual studies, which I don't think he's ever done before. However, this is an instance of where technically telling the truth actually takes you a long way away from the truth. Because while yes, these birds do die from solar plants, that does not mean we shouldn't have solar plants or that solar plants are worse than the alternative, which they are not. In 2006, fossil fuel plants caused the deaths of 14.5 million birds in the United States, which is just crazy. So what it actually works out to is, and obviously this is going to be a bit of loose science here, but this is an actual study. I'm taking this from Contextualizing Avian Morality in 2009, a study by Benjamin Sovacool, who found that wind farms and nuclear power stations are responsible for between 0.3 and 0.4 bird deaths per gigawatt hour, while fossil fuel power stations are responsible for about 5.2 fatalities per gigawatt hour, a far higher rate. So look, if you want to come away from this thinking, my God, every way we make power kills a lot of birds, I get that, and you're right. But this is clearly better than what we have right now, and no mention of that is made by Louie Gohmert or the woman he was talking to.
There's a special category of like Newsmax host at this point. There's another video that's going around where they just cast who they think is a version of a Fox host. So you get Marjorie Taylor Greene on one of these in the last 24 hours. Marjorie Taylor Greene, Louie Gohmert, and a random like vax paranoiac who says that they're magnetized. And you have to see this person who's just like reading a script. Wait,
no emotion.
Wait, no, they have to agree with the person on camera with them, but just like not expecting the thing that this Congress person, the kind of people that they wanted to interact with on a daily basis when they started pursuing a career in broadcast. They're against the crazies of them. And they're like, I went to journalism school. Granted, all these skills would apply to a travel show, but I know how to read a prompter. Why is it this crazy?
Why am I talking about flamers?
Yeah,
I don't know. Anyway, we are gonna take our second break though, but stick around because when we get back, we're gonna get into one of the most tragic stories of recent news. So we got that coming up for you after this. Okay, by the way, I meant to mention that they are looking into ways to try to ward birds off, but apparently so far it has been difficult. But he also, just took it for granted that we could never get past these issues.
No, what you do, this is the only solution and I will patent it.
What?
There's scarecrows, right? To keep the birds away. So what you do is on top of the tall turbine, you put a big hat and a face, and it just is like doing this all day. Put sleeves on the turbine, and it's just going like, stay away, stay away.
I like it. I think we should experiment with that. Wouldn't that get set on fire instantly? That'd be more terrifying.
That's Skip just texted me, make windmills into scarecrows.
Anyway, okay, let's read a few of your comments. Blue Knight said, I never thought about Austin Powers being a James Bond parody. Damn.
It's every one of those, but it came out at a time. It came out at a time when like there was the James Bond villain was like Diamond Face.
Yeah, that's true.
And then the whole I saw that movie, The World Is Not Enough or whatever, with my friend who came out of it just going, did you see the movie about the laser that shoots the world? Is a laser world shooter. And I was just like, yeah, these plots have gotten quite ridiculous.
They've gotten a little bit weird. I mean, GoldenEye was also another basically laser that shoots the world. Anyway, Aximom in Twitch said, my 1.5-year-old is sitting on the counter watching, and he pointed to Brett and said, Dada.
Oh, we've been back and forth on this in the chat, by the way. That's my kid now, so sorry.
That's how it works.
You can still finance its education. Second, Brooke goes, Can he have your kid? That would take a lot of pressure off me.
Nice. Okay, earlier in the show, Billy Shively sent in a super chat saying, should I feel bad for Brett's wife, or is she like this too? She's like that too. Not in the same way necessarily, but kind of. Anyway,
but we did just have a conversation last night about having a house with different wings that we could each live in, and just be like, she's like, I'll put a sock on the door to my wing, just so you know I'm having a me week.
A week, jeez. Anyway, okay, we're running low. Yeah, one of the things that makes me closest to believing in a religion is that they found each other. What are the odds in this whole world filled up people?
On Twitter, no less.
Anyway, that's true. Schwanigma says, to answer Brett, the US made Hispanic a subcategory when they realized that the white population was decreasing. So many Hispanic individuals found it easier if they just kept off the list altogether. Yeah, the whole thing is political and ever shifting and all that. Totally. Feral Dragon said, the Villages, where upper middle class pissed off Yankee retirees move with their awesome medical insurance and retirement from blue states move. They don't care about those still working here. Yeah, more than likely. May Money Debilling says, yes, so that I'm not gonna read because it is a reference to something that is coming up, but thank you for the super chat, May Money. You have landed on it there. Aximom went on to say, I once had Franklin Sharp Slicer stuck in my head and I couldn't place where it came from and it wouldn't get out of my head. So I was Googling it thinking it was some kind of knife you buy from an infomercial. Okay.
So
we should monetize that. McBoy Rep says John
Shop TYT. Sorry, go ahead.
Exactly. Bup Dragon thinks you're looking particularly adorable. Anyway, we gotta get back to the news, so stick around. We'll be right back. Okay, boy. Some stories you just don't want to get into, but let's do it. By this point, you've almost certainly heard about the QAnon dad who killed his 2 kids. This is Matthew Taylor Coleman, charged just 2 days ago with foreign murder of US nationals in connection with the death of his 2-year-old son and his 10-month-old daughter, according to the US Attorney's Office for the Central District of California. Authorities said Coleman confessed to the killings and told the FBI that he used a spear-fishing gun to stab them. And so look, no matter what other details come out of the story, it's just about as tragic as you can imagine a thing happening to a family, but the details that have come out do make it even worse against all odds. A criminal complaint alleges that he told the FBI that he killed his children because he believed they were, quote, going to grow into monsters, and that conspiracy theories led him to believe that his wife had passed down her serpent DNA to the children. Coleman's wife contacted Santa Barbara police after her husband had taken the kids out on Saturday, but didn't tell her where they were going. She got concerned eventually, and the police alerted the FBI. There was an investigation. He was later detained at the border where they found blood in the vehicle. And the complaint alleges that Coleman confessed to the killings upon being interviewed on Monday and gave authorities the location of the murder weapon and the discarded bloody clothing. He also identified 2 bodies recovered by Mexican authorities as those of his children. And he said that he knew what he was doing was wrong, but that, quote, it was the only course of action that would save the world. And of course, this has been spread quite a lot in the last few days, this story, as well as identifying him as being supporters of a variety of different conspiracy theories, including QAnon. Brett, what are your thoughts?
It's a soul-crushing story. You wonder if, I mean, yes, I like that you put the point the way you put it, like no matter what comes out, detail-wise on this is a wildly tragic story. You wonder if without the QAnon aspect of it and the serpent, the thriving communities of conspiracy theory as a subculture, without that, would he have ever done this to his kids? You know, does he suffer from mental illness? Is it some kind of mental illness where, regardless of where he would find it, there would still be some voice talking to him or something like that? I don't know. Yeah. But the truth is, like, I don't know. This is a sad story where a guy killed his kids with a spear gun, and I wonder how many people, and that's the crux of it. I want to say that is the crux of it. There is everything else is just like I have the luxury of being able to sit here and be like, what else does it imply about society?
Sure.
And it's like, are there going to be people out there who are like, well, everyone's jumping down this guy's throat, but he did the right thing? Are there people out there who do that? And you've got to say that there probably are.
Yeah, and I agree. It's one of the reasons we didn't initially do this story yesterday or whatever, because he almost certainly is out of his mind, whatever term you want to use. The question, but as you allude to, so I don't know that, like, usually we have more of a paper trail of how they became radicalized. We don't have that here, at least right now. So I don't know to what extent, like, there are grifters and there are conspiracy theorists out there. And so if you're gonna have them bouncing around, and then you're gonna have a lot of people with mental health problems, because in America we barely talk about it, let alone actually deal with it. Eventually those things are gonna collide. If he collided with someone else instead, would he have not done this? I don't know. These are impossible things to guess, but it is terrible. I hate that we have so many people with so big of a followings encouraging people to believe this nonsense about lizard people and about underground pedophile cults and all that. But anyway, one point, I think beyond mere speculation is that you might have noticed, as many did, that in this story being spread, the media did the thing that they do. Remember, this is a story about a father brutally murdering 2 of his kids. And as is pointed out here by a 30-year-old woman yells at Cloud on Twitter, the photo on the Washington Post and on many places was one of a variety of photos of him, like, on vacation, working out in the water. I don't know if that's supposed to make us think of the murder weapon, which seems like a very bizarre way to go with it. But as usual, no matter how brutal an individual murder or a mass act of violence a white male commits, they're gonna have these media figures basically doing PR, if unconsciously, in presenting them as these nice people. And that's parodied here with Zach Fox saying this is how photos be looking in headlines where a white man kills his entire family. It's always something positive. The victim of a crime being black, they hunt through their social media to find the most threatening looking image they can find. But anyway, this certainly did not break that pattern. Any final thoughts?
I mean, yes, that is one aspect of it, is the luxury that you have to be portrayed after the fact as like a happy family before this all went down, when other people would not be treated as well. And then also, like, through all this actively pandering to QAnon adherents, you see Fox News and an entire political party that's doing that, that's pandering to this. And just, I feel terrible, but like just reminding them that this is at heart of what they're trying to get, that what they're actively pursuing as a voting bloc is QAnon adherence, and there are no 2 ways about it. There's tons of language that they use in marketing to people. Yeah. That's just from QAnon and these conspiracy theories.
Oh, terrible story. Okay, we are running very low on time, but we do want to do this last story with the time that we have remaining. So let's jump into this. Basically, every week there is an update in the legal situation for Britney Spears that has had a sort of renewal of focus from our country. Now, the father of Britney Spears, Jamie Spears, apparently agreed to step down as her conservator, although there are some lingering questions. So, according to the father's court document, there are, in fact, take it with a grain of salt, there are in fact no actual grounds for suspending or removing Mr. Spears as the conservator of the estate, and it is highly debatable whether a change in conservator at this time would be in Mrs. Spears' best interest. So supposedly going, but not without a few parting shots. Goes on to say, nevertheless, even as Mr. Spears is the unremitting target of unjustified attacks, he does not believe that a public battle with his daughter over his continuing service as her conservator would be in her best interests. So even though he must contest this unjustified petition for his removal, he intends to work with the court and his daughter's new attorney to prepare for an orderly transition to a new conservator. And so, like, they're preparing, it's a process. We don't know what the timeline of that will be. and certainly isn't acknowledging any of what's been alleged, including by Britney Spears herself. But it does seem like we have some movement on this, Brett.
Yeah, so this is an interesting case where, like, I don't have any information on her mental issues that they all keep talking about, whether they exist or not. I know that I see videos, weird videos of her that she uploads where she's dancing, and I'm concerned. But at the end of the day, this is not my decision to make. I love everyone who thinks that they're gonna step in and say, like, well, I think that her dad should stay the conservator. I think she should have another conservator. Like, what information do you need that would affect whether, like, I should be advocating for one policy or another? That said, like, it is just strange to me that she would still be under a conservatorship after this much time. When along the way during that conservatorship, she was performing and making millions and millions of dollars as an employee, essentially, of some kind of event group in Vegas, right? So if she's able to do those kinds of things, I just don't. And as JR pointed out in the morning meeting today, he's like, there's a lot of rich people who end up blowing it, and they're not all under conservatorship. And I think that's probably the best argument that I've heard so far, besides, the original person who shouted, "Leave Britney alone."
Yeah. And like, you're allowed to go broke. You're allowed to do that. Like, and the idea that this guy who has absolutely nothing to do with any of it, the fact that, like, his interest in the money remaining outweighs her interest in being free, seems bizarre. And again, as we have to point out, he's still a conservator now, and it's looking like she's still gonna have one. Yeah. Maybe it will be one that she'll be involved in choosing, but these are degrees of freedom that we're talking about now. So we'll see. Things are changing. They put out a statement from their attorney saying that the ongoing shameful and reprehensible attacks, obviously they're disappointed by that. Yeah, I can imagine, considering the outpouring of support from the community combined with her testimony about what he has done. I don't know, I might have thought you'd want to go out, like, with a little bit of dignity, but apparently not going in that direction.
Yeah.
Anyway, that is all the time that we have for this first hour. So for those of you watching on our linear platform, thank you so much. But if you're watching on Twitch and YouTube, we do have a lot more news coming. So when we return from this short break, we'll be talking about Quentin Tarantino for the first time in a long time. That is coming up after this. Okay, welcome back, everyone. Anyway, I'm here. Brett's here. Brett is in protest, choosing not to breathe. We'll see how long he can hold it.
John's not doing common room tonight. John pulled out a common room tonight. It's Jordan Yule. We all have. It's Jordan. It's Jordan instead. Awesome. So you guys will be happy. I was holding my breath until John did common room, but then I realized that was just going to negatively affect me.
You know, you didn't hold your breath as long as I thought, which is good because I had a trick plan that was going to cut you off from oxygen for 23 minutes. So it's a good thing that we've learned this. Anyway, yes. So, but you're very lucky that Really Chill Guy, who is awesome, will be stepping in for me. Thankfully, he's a very nice guy helping me out in my time of need. So I apologize for that. But Brett will also be there. So, take the good with the bad. Anyway, okay, so after this show, what?
I was also not breathing, but I just had my mouth open.
That's more disturbing.
This is a creepier protest.
Coming up
still
after
Jordan.
This,
I like hanging out with Jordan. Arguably more than I like hanging out with you because every time we decide we're gonna hang out, you cancel on common room.
I know.
Here's how he does it too, everyone. The word should. I should know that should work. That means he's not confident in it.
I was joking when I said that. I was confident when I said it. Anyway, can we get back to the news? So Marissa, we will not be doing the H block. Don't worry about that. But anyway, Marissa, you go-getter, you optimist, you fool.
Marissa was like, "Are we gonna be able to fill it during the break? Are we gonna?" We have H block.
Brett will fill the time. I think we can stretch a bit. Anyway, but I do want to read some comments and stuff. So, reminder: the multicast today is the last day, starting Monday. If you want to watch the Young Turks, which you should. YouTube.com/The Young Turks. I'm on it sometimes. Anyway, what?
Tonight you are.
I am actually. Okay, MS Doll says, I love Brett's explanation of the dabbing incident. That's not the dab I thought he took. He came back from a tech fix break like he got scolded for smoking by Dr. Rashad Richey, and then he was at his A game.
He wasn't there. The scolding was an internal monologue. I can't tell you how disappointed I got in myself because I was like, you didn't have to dab, buddy.
Yeah.
And it's just that the confidently wrong. I don't know if you guys seen that subreddit. It's one of the best subreddits. It's just called Confidently Wrong. And it's everyone who's like, I'm gonna freaking dab. It's mostly people being just saying things that are factually wrong. Like vaccines, you can take them after you get sick. It's just like,
yeah. Okay, finally, Schwanigma says, I actually worked as a census supervisor in Harlem. Shout out to my amazing manager, Aurora. Because of the bull that the orange sponge pulled trying to scare Hispanic people, those numbers are probably not right. Yes, but thankfully there were a lot of people, including it sounds like people like you, trying to fight back against that misinformation. It was one of the great examples of why it is one of our unfortunate responsibilities to constantly fight back against misinformation. Okay, Trekkie Nurse Dragon gifted a tier 1 sub over on Twitch. Thank you for that. Tree Mabutiki, hey Tree, did as well. Let's see, Dove subscribed for 6 months, says, have they tried calls from predator birds to keep smaller birds away? That seems like a pretty good idea, actually.
Mike, I guess the real question is, have they tried the predator?
Have they tried it? Like the bird just has 3 dots on its body. That might work, actually. You know what the predator produces? Flamers, actually. He sets people on fire when he shoots them.
And obviously a telltale shimmer.
Yes, the telltale. The Uber Gardner says, okay, I'm here. I heard we have a real garbage person today. Oh, you do. And Ukami says, is Trump president again? I haven't been keeping up to date with the newest conspiracy theories and haven't checked the news. Well, there's still time because today is reinstatement day, everyone. The clock is ticking. When will Trump reassume the presidency? We'll have to find out. Anyway, with that, okay, let's jump back into the news. We don't normally talk about Quentin Tarantino, but I have to debate this with Brett because I read an anecdote about Quentin Tarantino, and apparently his mother, Connie, reportedly had a quote hard time about his scholastic non-ability while he was growing up. With the director adding in an interview that in the middle of her little tirade, she said, "Oh, and by the way, this little writing career with the finger quotes and everything, this little writing career that you're doing, that S is effing over." I'm not even trying to do an impersonation of him. When she said that to me, he goes on, in that sarcastic way, I was in my head and I go, "Okay, lady, when I become a successful writer, you will never see penny one for my success. There will be no house for you. There's no vacation for you. No Elvis Cadillac for mommy. You get nothing because you said that." And asked if he kept that promise after he became famous and rich. He said, yeah. I helped her out with a jam with the IRS, but no house, no Cadillac, no house. I've been wondering all week, what is Brett going to say about this? Like, this is the sort of stereotypical thing where they didn't support you, but he is still probably crazy rich. What do you think?
I need more information about his writing as a child. Because if it had as many N-words in it then as it does now, maybe that's what mom was talking about. And to be that petulant still, like, sir, people's parents beat the crap out of them. Like,
yeah,
people's parents actually abuse them. You're fixating on, maybe there were more moments. I'll give him the benefit of the doubt. There were more moments.
I assume there were.
But like still, and then also Quentin, you helped her out with a jam for the IRS. You broke your own rule because that's monetary, buddy. You helped your mom with money. So sorry. I don't know. The danger with this is like if you start defending Quentin Tarantino's mom and then it comes out that she was truly a terrible, evil person, then sure. I'm like, oh no, I didn't know that. But if she's just this nice lady who one time when he like wouldn't clean his room and she had to buy like adult-sized hats for this little tiny kid with a giant head, like she's like, you're too expensive. Maybe she just got frustrated and that one time was like, no more writing.
Maybe. I'm assuming it was a pattern. I do like the new alternate history, which he's a fan of, where she was just trying to stop like a budding racist from wrecking art or something, but that's probably not what it is. Anyway, he was asked about this by the co-creator of Billions about whether he ever did give her a house. He said, "There are consequences for your words as you deal with your children. Remember, there are consequences for your sarcastic tone about what's meaningful to them." That is, it's been decades, I'm sure, and it still burns in Quentin Tarantino. Anyway, that was days ago this news came out. This morning, the mother responded. So Connie said, regarding my son Quentin, I support him. I'm proud of him and love him and his growing new family. It gave me great joy to dance at his wedding and receive his news upon the birth of my grandson Leo. She said further, she does not wish to participate in this salacious transactional media frenzy, which I guess I'm a part of. I'm just honestly fascinated by it. And I liked her statement though. It was salt-free, no sodium. So Brett, like if you were Quentin Tarantino, would you still have this policy? Would you have maintained it?
I feel like the 11/11 Make-A-Wish. I feel like the nature of like how deep and long lasting this resentment and grudge and kibosh on money provisions has lasted. If it is the case that salt-free vanilla statement to the Rap or whoever, like if that was able to undo decades and decades of resentment, then I would be absolutely shocked. If I'm Quentin Tarantino and my mom one day years ago was like, that was horrible, said something horrible, and I was like, forever, I'm gonna keep my money from you. And just like, oh, she said something kind of, I guess, nice that wasn't in those 140 characters horrible.
I get what you're saying, but here's I'm forget the thing she just said. If like you make content, you've been on shows, you've done commercials. Let's say that your parents hadn't been supportive of you. Let's say that they watched you in Joseph and the Technicolor Dreamcoat and they weren't fans or something. Would you?
It was Jesus Christ Superstar, but continue.
Oh, was it? Anyway, I'm sure you were great. Could you maintain something like this if they had shown no support, if they had tried to dissuade you from doing the thing that you do? Or do you think there's some sort of obligation that a child has to their parents regardless?
I mean, my mom, I remember when I was a kid.
Barring like violence and sexual assault. Obviously, I'm not talking about abuse like that. I'm talking about not supporting.
When I was a kid and gregarious / probably pretty annoying, I was like, I want to do this, and my mom was like, you're not gonna be a child star. I'm not gonna do that. She grew up in Hollywood. She's like, it's bad news to be a child star. It'll suck.
She's got a point.
And so I didn't do those things for a very long time. I just waited till I was a grown up and I did them. I waited till I was an adult to become a child star, and now I am one, and it's great. But no,
you are a child star, Brett.
But like I like you can't keep that resentment, because the truth is everything from your childhood you're remembering wrong. Scientifically, the more you think about it, every time you revisit a memory, you change it. Like that's how memories work. So he's fixating on this, and he's a driven person, and he seems like somewhat like passionate about stuff and a little mercurial. Like maybe the guy, when he thinks about it, it becomes like this larger motivator and has functioned as that for his entire life. So I would say that probably that motivated him more. I don't think it's without the realm of possibility that motivated him more. And without that kind of resentment fueled motivation, maybe he wouldn't have become a
maybe,
But no one can say any of that. At the end of the day, I would suggest to Quentin Tarantino the same thing that motivated him to help her with the IRS. Like, you can get her something nice, because whatever situation she created, it led to you being successful. And just because you're giving her something doesn't mean you're necessarily rewarding her. You might just be the bigger person in this situation. Who knows? But then again, as I said, the very first thing I said, I don't have enough information. I don't know Connie very well, but I know Connies, and they're all delightful people.
A little. Yeah, I mostly agree with you. I just think, I agree. Whatever they did help, obviously, aside from the worst stuff. That's not what we're talking about. But also on top of that, I say buy her house, because it is entirely possible that at some point she had to read an article about his foot stuff.
Yeah.
Buy her house. Ugh.
Yeah.
She must have watched Once Upon a Time.
You know what? He could buy her a certain kind of house where she's an old woman who lived in a shoe.
He would totally buy it would be a sandal. Live in a sandal.
There was an old woman who lived in a strappy sandal, whose son dropped so many N-bombs she just couldn't handle.
Oh God. A new children's book coming from rising child star Brett Erlich. Anyway, okay, we are running low on time somehow, even though we had basically nothing for this half hour. So, Marissa, you give me the signal when we're ready to start with Brett on our garbage people, and I'm going to eventually get the community garbage person results coming up. Are we good to go? Okay, maybe I'll read a super chat. You don't know.
It's a thumbs up. You got the thumbs up as you looked away, John. So.
Oh, I did. Okay, sorry. Well, then that's actually on me. So in that case, it's the end of the week, and so it's time to take out the trash. Okay, Brett, I don't know if you had as easy of a time choosing your garbage person as me. Who made it this week?
My garbage person of the week is former actress Lee Allen Baker, who was the mom on Good Luck Charlie, a Disney Channel show. But she gave it all up so that she could move to Franklin, Tennessee, and complain to the school board about how their children wearing masks during class is tantamount to lighting the entire Declaration of Independence and other books, as she puts it, on fire. Enjoy this moment.
My name's Lee Allen Baker, and I'm a California refugee. I gave up everything there, a really successful Hollywood career, television shows, gave it all up for freedom and to come to this friendly place in Tennessee and be greeted with open arms, and I love it here. I wanted to tell you that I have 2 vaccine-injured children, And they have medical exemptions because after the seizures and the hospitalizations, after all of their immunizations, I was granted, obviously, a medical exemption. So my children are those rare children that will just not be able to get the vaccine. And still, I would never put them in a mask because their brain needs oxygen to grow, which the neurologist can confirm. Anyway, the real part of the clown show is that you all think that you actually have the authority to mandate this. Because there are these books that I have, and I have them as a gift for you. The Constitution and the Declaration of Independence, the Bill of Rights, and the Federalist Papers, and also the Bible. And these guarantee my freedom and yours and our children's to breathe oxygen.
Hashtag confidently wrong.
This is one of my, like, every detail about it. There was I forget what there's like those paintings that you look at and you're like, oh, it's a cool painting. And then you look closer and you're like, oh my God, there's all these details I didn't relish the first time because it was all just like such a gorgeous painting. She gave up her career to move to Franklin, Tennessee. No, you did not. You didn't. You did not give up your career. You were on a Disney Channel show about a kid and you were the mom. Just a little idea for all the people out there. I used to work on a studio where they filmed Step It Up or something, the one with Zendaya and Bella Thorne. And when you watch that show, there's like a studio audience laughing. There are no studio audiences. There was nobody going in there and laughing. The way that she shot her wildly successful show is she says lines and pauses. And then they put the laugh track. Oh, absolutely. They put the laugh track in later.
I thought they just played it up. Like that there was laughter. They made it louder with a laugh track. You're saying there's nothing.
Most shows are like you say, but at LA Center Studios where they shot these few Disney shows never had a live audience on the studio. And I would see like Zendaya and Bella like in the commissary. And so I knew they were shooting that day. Nobody coming on set. No one coming on.
Are you saying that she has never received more applause for her work than she did in that video we just watched?
That is the livest studio audience of her successful Hollywood career. So that's one aspect of it. There's others. There's I've got some books for you, like The Constitution. And that book, The Constitution, conveys to you that you can't do this and all that other stuff. Like you need oxygen for your brain to grow. It's all of the falsehoods, and then they go and do that zoom in on like the blonde mom who looks like she's making fun of her. And then you're like
happy for her.
But then at the end, when she finishes, they're like, "Yeah, got him with that nonsense." And the only reason I'm cheering for that nonsense, it's the same nonsense that I've seen on my Facebook feed, absolutely nonstop. And that was the meeting, from what I see reported, outside of which the medical experts were all accosted by parents who at the same time are wildly like, there's a lot of issues that I have with the parents out there, but they were telling medical experts they know where they live and they'll go find them.
Yeah.
Come on.
Very, very good garbage. I hate that there's so many people participating in stuff like that. So confidently wrong. Like they need oxygen. Like, well, then brain surgeons should really take off the mask because don't they need their faculties about them as they're in someone's brain? They seem to do okay. Anyway, good garbage person. For my garbage person of the week, there was no question. And if you have watched this show, there's a good chance you probably guessed. I predicted that this would come a week ago, and it took a bit, but it did happen. Here is your garbage of the week.
Cortez wasn't even inside the Capitol on January 6th. But she and Lindsey Graham are on the same page. We know that because occasionally Sandy Cortez tells us about her lived experience on January 6th. During a recent special on CNN, Sandy Cortez, does she ever stop talking about herself, by the way? She explained she wasn't simply afraid of being murdered by Ashley Babbitt. She was also worried about being raped.
There's a lot of sexualizing of that violence. And I didn't think that I was just going to be killed. I thought other things were going to happen to me as well.
So what sounds like what you're telling me right now is that you didn't only think that you were going to die, you thought you were going to be raped.
Yeah, I thought I was.
sexualizing? Get a therapist, honey. This is crazy. These people are mad because they thought the election wasn't fair. Now, you may disagree with that, but it wasn't about you. Surprise, surprise. Sexualizing the violence. I was going to be raped by Ashley Babbitt. Imagine some Republican lady saying that about a BLM riot, as thousands of rioters descended on neighborhoods and burned businesses all over the country. Kenosha, Portland, Georgetown, Green Bay, Wisconsin. What would happen if some Karen said that? It was sexualized violence. Can you imagine? Probably go to jail for that.
Did anyone think that he wasn't going to comment? Is there anything his audience wanted more this week than for him to laugh and mock and make up a fake name for a woman who is afraid of being raped, who, by the way, has been sexually assaulted? She is a survivor already. I'm sure that he knows that. They were desperate for him to try to find a picture of her where she'll look crazy that he can put up. He's just choosing to do that. It's disgusting. It's not surprising in any way. Brett, very briefly, thoughts?
This is a guy who, when protesters were in his neighborhood, freaked the F out. And his wife locked herself in the basement or whatever, and he wouldn't shut up about it.
Yep.
Get a therapist, Tucker. And you think that if she got a therapist, he wouldn't be like, what an elitist. I thought you were a bartender. I thought bartenders were therapists. Like, that is what Tucker Carlson's entire MO is, has been, and will be. And the guy calling her Sandy and using that over the shoulder photo is just depraved and stupid, and he knows it, and he's the worst on purpose because he sucks.
A reminder, earlier this week, he said, I don't know why the Democrats will come on my show. Come on, I don't call names, I'm nice. Yeah, well, maybe there's reasons. Maybe there's reasons that literally no one should ever come on your show because they don't want to support you mocking survivors of sexual assault. Anyway, that's my garbage person. For your garbage person, 35,000 of you voted this week, and coming in at number 5, we have Tucker Carlson for a different reason at 11% of the vote for being buddy-buddy with Viktor Orban. At number 4, we have 12% of the vote. Marjorie Taylor Greene for spreading COVID misinformation, for which she was suspended from Twitter. Coming in at number 3 with 14% of the vote, Mike Lindell for his bogus election fraud cyber symposium, which has not worked out for him. Number 2, somehow Andrew Cuomo only comes in at number 2 with 15% of the vote for trying to defend his history of sexual assault. But far and away, your garbage person of the week, the community garbage person with 48% of the vote, Greg Abbott, for fighting masks while COVID cases in Texas soar. I'm gonna give DeSantis an honorary mention there, or honorable mention. Anyway, thank you for everybody who voted. Do appreciate it. Brett, thank you for joining us as always. There's a lot more content coming up, so don't go anywhere. Indisputable starts in just a few, but for now, stay safe out there, stay sane out there. I'll see you soon.
You know what it is. It's Friday. Welcome to Indisputable. We got a lot of show today. Ladies and gentlemen, breaking down news of the day with me, none other than the big homie, Wosny Lambre, host of Wosny at 10 p.m. Eastern Time, Tuesdays on Twitch, and host of Woke Bros and writer at The Ringer. He'll join us in just a minute. Ladies and gentlemen, my top story for today. Right-wing Christian textbooks are teaching that enslaved black people were actually immigrants. That's what they're teaching, among other things. I kid you not. A Guardian analysis finds that private schools, especially Christian schools, use textbooks that tell a version of history completely 100% inaccurate. These right-wing US textbooks are used in thousands of schools across the United States of America. Here's what they do. They blame Black Lives Matter, the movement, for strife between communities and police officers. Discusses the prevalence of black supremacist organizations during the civil rights movement, calling Malcolm X the most prominent black supremacist of the era. It gets deeper. Now keep in mind, ladies and gentlemen, these textbooks are teaching this, and they are completely leaving out anything about slavery being evil or white supremacist or even the evils of what the Confederacy fought for. It gets deeper. The Guardian analysis has found that private schools, especially Christian schools, use textbooks that tell a version of history that is basically biased and often inaccurate. These textbooks used in thousands, you heard me correctly, thousands of private schools, many of which receive tens of thousands of dollars in public funding every year, whitewash the legacy of slavery, frame Native Americans as lesser, and blame the Black Lives Matter movement for sowing racial discord. About half of states in this country have either enacted or are looking to enact restrictions on discussions of systemic racism. Now, do you see what's happening yet? All of this jazz about critical race theory being taught in K through 12 education, which by the way, CRT is not taught in K through 12 education. It was simply a false pretext to create the context in order to stop K through 12 education from teaching the reality of racism in America. What they are trying to do, ladies and gentlemen, is adopt a philosophy and a narrative that is akin to what they are already teaching their children in these private institutions. They are now trying to do the same in public education. There's more. The Guardian reviewed dozens of textbooks produced by the Christian textbook publishers Abeka, Bob Jones University Press, and Accelerated Christian Education. Those are your three. Three of the most popular textbook sources used in private schools throughout the US. These textbooks describe slavery, get this, as black immigration, and say Nelson Mandela helped move South Africa to a system of radical affirmative action. You have got to be freaking kidding me. Now remember, these textbooks are not just at Christian institutions, they are at secular private institutions as well. Let's put up a dip picture of Nelson Mandela, the late Nelson Mandela, okay? They're saying he's a bad guy in their history books. Let's go even deeper. An Abeka 11th grade history textbook passage describes slavery in purely economic terms, ignoring its human cost, writing that slaves seem to be better investments than indentured servants. As the textbook moves to modern history, the authors criticize President Barack Obama for harming relations in the country. Okay, let's put up a picture. Let's do some B-roll of former President Barack Obama. Let's do that. I'm painting a picture here. You may see where I'm going, okay? Here's one of the quotes directly from one of the textbooks. Unfortunately, Americans' views of race relations declined after Obama came into office. This is in their textbook. Race riots in places such as Ferguson, Missouri, and Baltimore, Maryland, greatly escalated racial tensions and worsened strife between minorities and local police, the textbook reads. President Obama's attempts to resolve these problems often seemed to make the situation worse. Wait a minute. They are leaving out white supremacists. They are leaving out white ideology or white bias ideology, racism as a whole. They are blaming it all on former President Barack Obama in the textbook. So let me get this right. Nelson Mandela, bad guy, according to their textbook. Former President Barack Obama, bad guy, according to their textbook. But enslaved Africans in America, like this person, not so bad, according to them. That is actually a black immigrant. And this was purely an economic issue, an investment opportunity. It doesn't just stop with private education. You see, there's a movement in public education that has been going on for years to stop calling slave masters or slave owners slave anything. They're now referring to them as plantation owners and not saying what slavery is, but calling enslaved Africans plantation workers. That's already in public education. Big Waz, what are your thoughts here?
You know, as a hyper secular person who I now am, but also somebody who was raised Christian, the lack of imagination here is just appalling. If they wanted to, they could have taken the cynical neoliberal route and told a story of white American redemption and say, yes, these people came here in bondage. Yes, there was white violence after Reconstruction, all through the Jim Crow era and up until Martin Luther King and the Civil Rights Movement. However, white Americans have redeemed themselves. We now produce black presidents and black CEOs and moguls like Oprah and black generals and black public intellectuals like Cornel West at our highest levels of education and elite institution. We have been redeemed. I thought Christians liked the redemption story, Dr. Richey, or at least that's the Christianity that I was raised on. Instead, they say this easily disproved fiction about immigration and Barack Obama sowing dissent between the races and not, sort of these type of Christian leaders themselves doing the dissension. It's stupid and it's just so lazy. It's so easy to paint a picture of white America being redeemed by some of the moderate gains that black people have been able to achieve in this society. Instead, they want to just tell outright lies that are easily disproved. And guess what? These Christian kids are gonna grow up to be Christian and some atheist adults, by the way, once they learn that this stuff was all lies and bunk.
That's right. Well said, brother. Quite interesting in their narrative that black individuals who have obtained success in progressing their movement, they are marginalized in their textbooks. However, the institution and industry of an evil known as slavery is given a moral basis for operation in their textbooks. Unbelievable, but believable. Let me shift gears to one of the saddest stories I've ever had to report on. A toddler shot and killed his 21-year-old mother. Okay, this is a tough story, all right? This was during a video Zoom call. A toddler in Florida fatally shot a woman during a video call after finding an unsecured handgun, police said Thursday. Someone on the work-related Zoom conference called 911 and reported that they had seen a toddler and heard a noise before the woman, Shamaya Lynn, fell backward, police said in the statement. I want to show a picture of the deceased young lady. 21 years of age. Altamont Springs near Orlando is where this happened. Investigators determined that the injury was caused by a toddler who found a loaded handgun, which was left unsecured by an adult in the apartment. Altamont Springs police said in a statement, police said Lynn was shot in the head. Investigators said the handgun belonged to the father of the victim's 2 young children. The station reported neither child was injured, thank God. I want to show you a picture of this once very happy family, okay? Now here's why I'm doing this. This is a tough story for me to get through. Young couple, responsible, except in this arena. An unsecured handgun has destroyed that entire family. She's dead. The father may be facing charges, investigation pending. The toddler at some point is going to likely know what happened at some point in their life. The case is under investigation, no charges have been found. Now let me bring you to a very sober reality about safety. I know it's constitutional to have a gun. We know that. Constitution says you can have one. But with that constitutional right comes a moral and ethical responsibility. There were at least 369 unintentional shootings by children younger than 18 years old last year. 142 deaths came out of that. That's according to the gun control advocacy group, Everytown for Gun Safety, who tracks the report. And they would tell you that those numbers are a conservative estimate. In North Carolina, in February, a 25-year-old mother, of 5 was inadvertently shot and killed after her children found a gun in her purse. In April, a 3-year-old boy in Houston found an unsecured firearm and fatally shot his 8-month-old brother. Okay? Here's why I'm doing this story. If you own a firearm, secure it. Secure it. Secure it as if not only your child's life depends on it, but yours too. Big Waz, sad story, man. I had to bring it to the attention. Hopefully, warnings like this create caution and safety for others who may not be paying attention.
Yeah, it's funny because I remember as a kid, like anytime I'd see a cop or anytime I'd see a gun, I remember just feeling the sort of weight of being around one, like understanding that this thing could take a life in an instant, and sort of grasping the gravity of that, that truth. And I wonder if, the way our society has tried to trivialize guns and I remember when Columbine happened and it was just the biggest news story ever. Mm-hmm. It was like you couldn't escape it as a story. Like, can you believe this tragedy where these people just killed their classmates with guns. It feels like gun violence just doesn't seem like a thing anymore. And I think that cavalier attitude towards gun violence trickles down into gun ownership, where people just feel like it's just another thing. And because to me, that's the only way you can justify having a deadly weapon within your home and having it be with arm's reach of your loved ones who are children or toddlers. I wonder if, just American society, their indifference about what guns can do has trickled down into gun ownership.
Yeah, well said, brother. I have an update before we go to break. Okay, remember about a week ago, we highlighted a story of a black realtor, his client and his son at a home, being shown a property. And obviously the neighbors said, hey, black people here, they must be breaking and entering. So the police showed up, okay? And we got the video now of what happened to that family and to that realtor. Here it is.
Come out with your hands up. All right, one at a time. You in the first one, gray shirt, walk towards me with your hands up. All right, go in, keep coming. Yep. Go ahead, just turn around, put your hands behind your back for me.
What's the idea? Neighbors are calling in that you guys are breaking into the place. I'm the realtor. Okay, here it is. All right. Right here? Yeah. This work? Yeah. Sent you like for real estate? Yeah. This thing works on the satellite? Okay. Yeah, he's a realtor. Okay. So
why this happened?
He kind of explained a little bit. Says somebody
he was obviously here last week with that neighbors calling, looking over the house, going, hey, there's same car's back. I mean, I do apologize. Obviously, thank you for just going along with it.
The neighbors knew good and damn well they were not breaking into that home. They knew that. Even the explanation of the cop, when he said, hey, they said they saw your car here a few days ago, you went in and they saw your car back. Who in the hell breaks into a house twice in the same neighborhood? You're a cop. That made sense to you? The whole call was racial. So the police department, they did an internal investigation. They're standing by their officers saying that race had nothing to do with the incident. Race had everything to do with the damn 911 call. And race is the reason why you did not give them the benefit of the doubt. Just knock on the door and figure out what's going on first. Do some investigation. Ask a question or two. You didn't do any of that. Not only is it bad policing, it was definitely contextualized through the racial elements that we see. That's your update. All right, we got more. Indisputable, stick and stay.
Cenk Uygur is not here today, which means that I will be able to talk during the show.
We'll see. Poor
Cenk, under the bus.
My God, if Jesus came back, how much would the Republicans hate him? So now you have to give away all of your possessions to the poor. Steve King would be like, oh, Weezy. Everyone should be lucky enough to have a John Iadarola in their life.
You confused everyone?
Okay, sorry, I thought it was pretty clear.
Take a break now.
You can turn me into Dr. Manhattan as long as I get what Dr. Manhattan's packing, okay? The liberal mom says, Mark Thompson, have you ever thought about doing one of those tapes that soothe people to sleep? Like Mark Thompson reads the phone book. I'd buy it.
If you'll buy it, I'll do it.
Emilio D'Amelio writes in, John, you are so thick. I love you. That's what he wrote.
Pork Chop Express writes in and says John Iadarola needs a new jacket.
Whoa.
Those 24-inch pythons are about to burst out of his sleeve.
Gun, babies. You know, the two people here said that their moms were both in love with you over Beauty and the Beast.
Mm-hmm. That's an improvement. I usually get grandmothers.
Charlie Turk.
No, wait a minute, don't you dare.
Chemical castration when we return from the break.
I hope that, who they choose for the White House isn't just a borderline Klansman. That's all we gotta hope.
That's it, we will settle it.
She's cute. I didn't say that about Louie Gohmert.
Scandal at TYT. Did Anna comment on my tan yet? No, she hasn't.
You're a good bosser.
But Anna did say that I come in here today with a fresh mind. That's all I'm about. I'm about a fresh mind.
I can't with you right now. Okay?
She just can't. She can't, but nonetheless, we have to for another 3 hours. I'm back, baby. Let's rip into Republicans. See, don't miss the live show. That's great. Tell people, if you're a member, you get the whole live show whenever you want, because this stuff doesn't go into any of the clips.
Welcome to the Damage Report. I'm John Iadarola. This is gonna be a big one. Meanwhile, in the Arctic, you know where this is going. You watch the Damage Report, the Arctic's on fire. Obviously, why would we be talking about the Arctic except to tell you that it's melting once again? The Republicans aren't that interested in it. I wonder why. Lift out of poverty up to 3.7 million people, including an estimated 1.3 million children. Hashtag save the children? Not if it costs money. I mean, come on.
What's happening? I'm Dr. Rashad Richey, host of Indisputable with Dr. Rashad Richey. Here's the bottom line. I play no games about policy, period. Too many people's lives are at stake. So here's what I do. I challenge conservative ideology that hinders the growth of this country. I make sure we place our facts in proper context, and I have no problem debating anyone on a position that I have. Progressives have the ideas to change the world, but when you really look at it, progressives have always changed this world for the better. I want you to tune into my new show, Indisputable with Dr. Rashad Richey, right here on the TYT network, 2:30 p.m. Eastern time, 11:30 a.m. Pacific time. I'll see you there.
Everything that we've accomplished over the years is because of our members who've allowed us to remain independent of corporate interests and reach 20 million followers. Now is the time to bring as many people into the progressive movement as possible. We're inviting you to be the change and help bring a community-powered progressive change machine to life. Details are at tyt.com/change. If you're a member, thank you. We need you to remain so. If you're one of the thousands of viewers out there who's not a member yet, the time has come for you to join now. We need you more than ever. tyt.com/change.
Welcome back to Indisputable. Let me read some of these amazing comments. Thank you for engaging the show. Don't forget to stick and stay for Galaxy Brain with Ben Carollo. He was on the show this week, did a remarkable job. Has a great program. All right, make sure you stick and stay for that. TYT member, cognitive dissonance is a hell of a drug. And this isn't just one teacher's opinion. This is formalized education. Wow, just wow, exactly. This is not one or two teachers doing some kind of educational experiment. Thousands of schools, K through 12 education systems have already adopted these textbooks. Mickey C, the silver-haired dragon. Convenient Christians spew the parts of the Bible that condone their beliefs. Ignore the parts that condemn their actions. Christians who hate, lie, and preach violence. Tell them that their blonde, blue-eyed Jesus was a brown Jewish, far left socialist, and their heads explode. You know, and it's interesting when you hear Christian evangelicals talk about learn English if you want to stay in America. But Jesus didn't know any English. Okay, YouTube super chat, songs of sovereignty. Aloha, Dr. Richey, mahalo for your work. Thank you. Watching and learning from you every day. Prayers of strength, mana, and protection for you and yours from Hawaii Island. Thank you for that. And same to you. All right, my poet, and you know it, Kelly O'Hara. Textbooks blaming Black Lives Matter are wilder than Mad Hatter. America's greatest blight is this stuff from the right. Get it out of my sight. Bars. Beautiful. Grandma Sunshine Dragon. I want to throw up now. This is not how Christians are supposed to behave. Such an embarrassment. If we forget our past, we are doomed to repeat it. Hugs to you, Dr. Richey, and Waz, and the Dragons. Hugs back to you. Thank you, Crumble. Continue communicating, Doc. Shall do. Bobby, Did I just miss it? Okay. It's a lot on here. Made money in the building. I'm proud to be from Oakland, one of the most diverse and culturally dope places in the world, because I can't understand being racist and bigoted. And don't even try. Don't even try to understand it. Okay. Thank you for the Trenchy. Thank you for that. Central Committee is rated with 753. Thank you, Central Committee. Big ups. Redeemed, highlight my message, 1500. Okay. Fritter 687. As a white Christian male, this is absolutely disgusting, and is why conservatism needs to die. Yeah. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, I wish a Karen would.
You want to call the police on them for having a barbecue on a Sunday?
I feel free. Back off!
I'm going to tell them there's an African-American man threatening my life.
Watch me and my cousin get at Goodwill.
Back the up.
We're not doing that in here.
Back the up. Oh, so you want us to call the police? So you want us to call the police? Go call the police.
Call the cops.
Call the police. Call the police.
No.
I need a hug.
No. Listen.
He start.
Listen. Cut out. Hello.
He, she.
No. Listen.
Kate.
Caitlyn
Jenner is my hero.
Pushing.
Get to step and freak. You come at me like that.
Come at who? You swung at two girls. Get a grip.
You're not a girl.
None of that.
You're transsexual.
If it helps you sleep better at night, my love.
Adios, freak.
Excuse me. Yes. No, it's not your fault. It's not your fault. It's not your fault.
I was like literally being nice to them.
Like this, please.
And then they got rude.
Yeah. It's nice. Yeah. Okay, stop it.
Oh, there's a whole lot more. So the TikTok video was posted by Yike Sammy, or Sammy Rose, who was one of the two young women here. The cousins experienced this encounter at a Goodwill store in Florida. There's more.
Are you gonna pay for your stuff?
I'm waiting for them to leave so I can finish my shopping experience.
They're not leaving.
I'm not leaving either. We'll leave together. How about that?
No.
Come on. It's my party and I'll freak.
Listen. Just bring it down.
Blonde or wannabe blondie here. She said something like, "Don't even talk to." I'm like, I'm talking to the sisters. Talking to the sisters doing my Michael Jackson dance.
Okay.
And then the freaks.
You're talking to me.
The freaks gonna come at me.
Okay, but
you got the wrong one, little girl. You better laugh it off.
You better not show that. You better not. No. You guys will leave when you want to. Okay, go ahead,
Bro, I'm relaxing. I just wanted to say.
Listen, please. I'm gonna ask you nicely. Let them go about their business. You know, if you come out this door, they have the right to you up, right? Who? They do, because you're following them now. You need to get back in the store. Let's go. Get your ass to the store. Anyway.
Don't go anywhere, because this serial male Karen has more, all right? Before I get to the next video, let me give you a little bit of background. And by the way, people are applauding the Goodwill workers for standing up like they did. Big ups to those black women. Rose explained in the comments of the TikTok that the man was harassing the employees, then turned to Rose and her cousin to talk to them. They told him not to talk to them and leave them alone. The man got angry and called the women a transphobic slur. When they began to walk away, he followed and started swinging at them. Okay? Now, a year ago, literally last August, a video was posted by Reddit showing this same male Karen doing this.
You have your phone on, you can do a curbside pickup, it has to go through the app.
Are you?
No, I'm not. I'm actually, there's
Let me talk to this. Bring this gentleman out here.
He doesn't need to be over here. I will call the prosecutor and exit my store.
You're telling me I can't buy that for what reason now?
Because I'm not doing a cash transaction.
curbside service like everyone else is doing.
You have to do it through the phone.
I don't do the app. I pay cash money.
But we're not.
Do you understand that, little girl?
I do.
Are you guys on drugs? Am I missing something? Are you sure? No, I'm not.
Okay,
And watch your mouth, dude.
I will. So it's fine. I will call the cops for you to enter my store. You keep using vulgar language. There is a child right there.
What vulgar language?
I'm not repeating it.
My family are all litigators. This is. You're doing this to the wrong guy. And I'm telling you, I cannot wear the mask. I'm medically exempt. Do you understand that?
There's no medical exemption.
I can go get a
Yes, there is. Mr. Smarty Pants, you don't know what you're talking about.
Husband's a pulmonologist.
You're what? What did you say?
My husband's a pulmonologist.
Your husband? Let me have a good look at you. Oh, I'm gonna have some fun with this one.
She's getting a
Are you filming me?
I absolutely am.
The dude wasn't even a customer. So according to the background, he was trying to get in there so he could break a $100 bill. They already told him, listen, you don't even have a shirt. You gotta have a shirt and you have to wear a mask in order to patronize this establishment. According to the person who did the recording, the situation escalated to the point that he entered the store and approached one of the workers. Because he was coming at me, she says, I stopped recording and backed away. At this point, he told me, brush your teeth and to clean your P word every 28 days, OBGYN. He did finally leave the store. The woman and her 9-year-old daughter were escorted to their car by the general manager as well as a cashier. See, he gets like this when someone tells him there is a rule that he must follow. You see, this is common, okay? He tries to make advances to 2 women. They say, hey, we're not about that. Let's keep it moving. That's a rule, that's a personal rule they have. He violates that rule. He tries to come into this establishment. They say, hey, we have rules here. His family are litigators. You're messing with the wrong one. And then he continues to insult. Typical Karenicity behavior. Waz, your thoughts here?
The sense of entitlement is just oozing from this guy. And I think that's usually the common denominator of most Karens. It's a sense of, I deserve to do and have whatever I want at whatever cost, whenever I want it. And this guy, I mean, part of me, Dr. Richey, because I'm from a certain type of era. I would like to see this dude get slapped in the face. But I know in 2021 we don't really move around like that. But like, this is somebody who, you ever see somebody act a certain way and think to yourself, this person's never been punched in the face before. Because there's a humility that has to come with that, right? When it's like, I'm capable of like being brought down to a certain level if I act out or talk out of turn. This guy has just never had that in his entire life, and he's just behaving like a toddler. I don't even know what you're supposed to do with that when a guy has it in his mind that it's his God-given right to harass people while they're at their job, as if retail work isn't some of the hardest, most strenuous work we can do out here in America as far as the types of people and things that you got to deal with on a day-to-day. What type of person wakes up in the morning and says, I want to harass those people? It's crazy.
Yeah, and you and I know if he keeps on like this, he gonna pick the right one.
Yeah,
it's the law of statistics, right? The law of statistics will set in at some point. He's gonna pick the right one. I got something for you, Waz. Double dose.
You want to call the police on them for having a barbecue on a Sunday?
You're still free. Back off!
I'm gonna tell them there's an African American man threatening my life.
I was here yesterday, man. You know who I am. It's on my shoulder. Why is your phone not working? I don't. What? I don't understand you. Why didn't your phone? Don't you put your hands on my son and your sister right now. Don't you ever put your hands on my son. Actually, I will call the police and I will have you arrested for putting your hands on a minor. That's what I'm going to do. Good. Get out of my face, lady. And I need to know you. Get the out of my face. Come here. And you're going to jail because she just put her hands on my son.
This particular Karen took it upon herself to put her hands on another parent's child to stop that child from swimming, from entering into a swimming pool that they had a right to be at, okay? This woman has been unidentified, but an update says that she was in fact disciplined. We'll talk about that in a moment. The unidentified woman was charged weeks later after she assaulted a child while attempting to block this child from using the community freaking pool, all right? Since the video of the incident has gone viral, the mother of the child posted an update to the situation. Here's the update.
The update is she was charged with a misdemeanor assault on a child under 12. When this video was taken, I didn't know it was being taken, but when the police officer came, I told him what happened. And then he went to get her story, and her story was that I attacked her. Of course, the police officer was starting to believe her at first based on just the way we look. She's an older white lady, and her whole tone changed. She wasn't talking crazy or outside of her neck. The police officer was believing her, but then there was a lady at the pool. She's the one that actually took the video. I didn't know she was taking it, but she took that video because there's been issues where people on the HOA pool committee, because there's 3 women and she's one of them, that single out children who aren't white. It just is what it is. Because this day she let 2 white boys in front of my kids, but told my kids they had to wait outside the gate. Ever since this video has been out and ever since charges have been pressed against her, her and 2 other women on the HOA that we've had issues with have constantly harassed my landlord, sending emails, spreading lies about me and my children. I don't care if my children are the devils themselves. You don't have the right to put your hands on nobody, let alone a child.
I detect no lies in that one whatsoever. Let's put up a picture of this, Karen. All right, we got it, yeah. What makes you think, what makes you believe that you can physically assault a child? You don't have the right to do that to anyone. I am glad that the woman or the male, we don't know, someone took this video, and this video ended up being the evidence that literally got justice for this child and this parent. Because as you heard from the mother, the police, when they arrived, they actually believed the Karen. But there was video. Woz, what are your thoughts here?
Man, immediately I think about my upbringing and whatever happened to good old fashioned mind your business, mind your beeswax, mind your neck. Like, don't be a busybody. Stay out of people's business. Like, go about your day, lady. Like, why are you so concerned with what these young children are doing? Why do you have to get outside of yourself and feel like you need to inject yourself in policing a pool community? You know, like, mind your business. That ain't your kids. Those ain't your people. Go about your day. It's just crazy how bothered these people always are by just other people existing around them. It's so anti everything that I was taught to be, especially growing up in New York, where it's just like, don't talk to strangers for any reason whatsoever. Don't interact with people you don't know. Go about your business. Don't do anything. Just the idea that I would talk to somebody's kid about what they need to be doing in the pool I just can't understand it. Sometimes I do believe we live in 2 Americas.
Yeah, and not only talk to the kid, but go up and physically assault the kid.
That's craziness.
As if this is your child, all right? We got more on the other side. It's indisputable, stick and stay.
You know what the progressive movement needs? It needs a little energy, a little pizzazz, maybe a little caffeine. Oh, coffee. But what if it was Too Strong Coffee? Yes, new, toostrongcoffee.com/TYT. Look, this helps progressive causes. It's also organic and fair trade, so you've got peace of mind that it was done right. and it happens to taste great. So check it out right now at twostrongcoffee.com/TYT.
300 million is a pretty good number, Well, that's the size of the US population. You know what our next target is? The size of the entire world. We just crossed 5 billion views on YouTube.
I mean, imagine 10 years ago thinking one day.
We looked at you like, are you nuts? Young Turks has just passed another milestone. 15 billion views. Damn. All right, lots of comments. You guys are the best.
I'm gonna read a few comments from our members.
Mr. Methuselah says on YouTube, super chat, thanks for all the important work you do for TYT for the movement.
Do you know who had the first super chat when I got back from vacation? You won't be surprised to find out. Rob Shively, what do you know? Rob says, rejoice for Dragon Daddy has returned.
This question sent to us by Izzy Sanchez Jr. Is it me or is Meghan McCain talking as fast as Ben Shapiro? Is that the way the right tries to look smart and intellectual? Well, yes.
Michael Nathan writes it on Twitter. Did Anna choose Cenk's outfit today? I'm sure it wasn't Cenk himself. Man Bun Jenkins Skinny Jeans says, so now Anna has pointed out, okay, that's his handle.
T. Joyce, 1971, saying Donald Trump is good at pulling out of things, NAFTA, the Iran deal, NATO. It's just too bad Fred Trump didn't.
All right, let me do a little quick plug here. It's not even a plug, I'm bragging, okay? I'm bragging, watch me. We have a channel on YouTube, a whole channel devoted just to the Young Turks. It's badass, right? Wow, man. I can see the void.
You guys are rock stars.
Unbelievable. Senator Sanders, welcome to Rebel Headquarters. Man, you guys are amazing. We gave you what you wanted. Okay. Speaking of shirts.
I have a surprise.
You reached a lot of people. You are the Young Turks. And we have spread that progressive message wide and far. Let's keep it going.
Here's what we do. We go beyond the headline. We are willing to engage in transparent conversations with those who do not think like me. We also make sure that you know what's happening not only nationally, but in your local area. Make sure you tune in to Indisputable with Dr. Rashad Richey, Monday through Friday, 2:30 p.m. Eastern Time, 11:30 a.m. Pacific Time.
Cool news, shoptyt.com now has books. There's a whole bunch of books there. You're gonna be shocked to find out that they're largely progressive. Of course! Ryan Grimm's book, We've Got People, is there. It's fantastic. It's a story from Jesse Jackson to Bernie Sanders to AOC that explains the progressive movement probably better than any book I've ever read. Speaking of awesome books, my dad's got a book out called The Original Young Turk, where he goes from the poorest olive farmer you ever met in your life to living the American dream.
Welcome back. We got a lot to cover still. Let me go to some of these amazing comments. TYT member Cray Cray Souffle. The fanny pack doesn't help this critically stupid care man. Male Karen, yes. Carlson is a lying mother tucker. I'm pretty sure his family of litigators wouldn't touch this one with a 10-foot pole. All right, cognitive dissonance is a hell of a drug. Mind your neck. That's going into the rotation now. Thanks, Wad. That's what I said too. I said, mind your neck. That's a new one for me. And I'm from the South and we say some crazy stuff. Okay, Diana, HOA board seemed to attract power hungry, prejudiced Karens. Disgusting. She should have opened the gate for these children and told them, have fun. But the Karenicity just runs too deep. Yeah, YouTube super chat. Omega Shinron Dragon, can my wife, Lisette, get a happy birthday shout out? just did. Happy birthday, Lisette. All right, Bobby Williams, thank you for all you do. Much love from Austin, Texas. Thank you so much, Bobby. Much love back to you. Omega Shinron Dragon on the Karen. Big man gets tough when there's no one bigger. Naomi, wannabe David Lee Roth. Rhonda Smith, once again, black women come in to save the day. We've been seeing that pattern lately, have we not? Mike V. George Floyd dies over a $20 bill. This guy gets to live with a $100 bill. Unreal. Yeah. All right. Kiki says, I swear these Karens are clout chasing. If they are obnoxious and bigoted enough, they might just get to appear on Tucker or will get a shout out from Ingram. Pathetic. Yeah. All right, Twitch. RC Tycoon 13. A Friday double shot. Yeah, you're right. Peachy Shari. My husband says he wishes a Karen would near him because he's give them a piece of his mind. He'll give them a piece of his mind. That would be a battle royale. By the way, Dr. Richey, he said you made his day with that segment. I'm happy to oblige. Take that energy all the way into your weekend. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, a Phoenix police chief has been suspended just for one day though. Why? Because they decided to charge protesters as gang members, knowing good and damn well they were not gang members at all. It was, in fact, criminal how they used the criminal code in such an egregious way. Phoenix Police Chief Jerry Williams has been suspended for 1 day. And others in her executive staff have been demoted after outside investigations found that they trumped up bogus charges against protesters and they had a ridiculous challenge coin. So let me first talk about the protesters, okay? I'll put up a picture of Chief Williams. That's Chief Williams, okay? Someone who, by the way, should know better than to charge protesters with an obviously racial biased charge like gang affiliation. But she did, her whole team did. And let me show you how they pulled it off. The case began last year after 15 protesters were arrested during a march against police brutality in downtown Phoenix. So that's your context, right? They have the legal right to protest bad policing. It's called America. They were indicted, ladies and gentlemen, by a grand jury on charges of assisting with a criminal street gang. The Maricopa County Attorney's Office alleged in front of a grand jury that protesters were part of a gang called ACAB. All cops are B words. Prosecutor said the gang was made to create violence against police. During the testimony by Sergeant Douglas McBridge, investigators say McBridge compared the group to notorious street gangs like Bloods and Crips. Ladies and gentlemen, listen, let me say this. For years, I have operated as a person who actually deprograms gang members. I was a gang member as a teenager. I've done this work all across the United States of America. There is no damn gang called ACAB at all. None. It doesn't exist. And they knew it did not exist. It gets deeper. Officials commented that it also found those involved consciously avoided, including the gang enforcement unit, in an attempt to sideline those deemed likely to object to charging protesters as members of a criminal street gang. So here's what these guys did. They decided to not consult with their actual gang unit and gang experts at the police department because they knew good and damn well their gang unit would have said, hell to the no, these people are not gang members. So they left them completely out of this chaos and madness in order to get these trumped up charges and to get this indictment and to trick a grand jury to provide testimony adversarial to the facts of the case. Criminal, ladies and gentlemen, this is criminal. And what do they get? The chief gets 1-day suspension, the hell? Her command staff, they get demoted? This is criminal. All right, it gets deeper. The investigation noted that both Phoenix police and the MCAO made the decision to press gang-related charges. The county attorney, Alistair Adele, filed a motion in June to dismiss all of the charges related to the protest, citing a lack of time and resources needed to pursue the case. So you mean to tell me y'all just let 15 gangsters go? That's your official statement. We just didn't have time to prosecute them. Tell the truth. You knew they were never gang members. Tell the truth, and it got exposed. There's more. The city of Phoenix also confirmed that a challenge coin, and a lot of departments have these things, they give it to their friends and family members. A challenge coin has circulated among police officers during President Donald Trump's visit back in 2017. The coin depicted a man being shot in the groin with a pepper ball with the phrase, "Make America Great Again, one nut at a time." The coin also had a second phrase, "Good night, left nut." The investigation found that supervisors had given the coins as gifts to subordinates within the department, and some of those coins were bought or exchanged while on duty. As pointed out by a reporter online, the coin shares similarities to a neo-Nazi slogan. Let's put this up from Dave's Twitter. He says, let's make this simple. Here's a pic of the front and back of the challenge coin Phoenix officers possessed after shooting a protester in the groin. The third pic is one of many examples of how it's related to neo-Nazi slogan images. Look at that. Look at these people. Okay? What they did. Now, I understand the coin thing is just hella insensitive, right? We can all agree to that. But what they did to these protesters by fabricating a narrative, presenting false testimony, charging them as gang members, lying to a grand jury, for none of them to now be charged with an actual crime, but to receive a 1-day suspension, demotion from command staff. Remember, they're likely still paid the exact same amount of money. What? You can get away with this? Wiles, what are your thoughts here?
My first thought is, as you said, there is no ACAB in existence, but shouldn't there be? That's a great name. I'm not gonna lie, that's just a fantastic name, man. Somebody come up to you and be like, "Hey, man, you want to join this club? It's called All Cops and B Words." I'd be like, "Hey, that's not the worst name I've ever heard." But no, in all seriousness, the problem with this, and it's part of what we highlighted in an earlier segment, is this type of stuff erodes trust, yes, erodes credibility. And it's that erosion of trust and credibility that creates an environment in which those cops that went to that property, the reason why they gotta act all shook and be like, "Hey, come out with your hands up and your guns and all of that," instead of just being able to knock on the door and be like, "Hey, what's going on, guys?" Because they know they have no credibility with these people. They haven't built any trust with these people. And so the behavior sort of justifies itself, right? It's like we have to act scared because we've acted like idiots and we have no integrity. And so people don't trust us. And so it has a terrible just trickle down effect of bad behavior begets bad behavior begets bad behavior. And I know, of course, obviously these are two different police departments, but we're talking about the same issues here. When the cops, one, it's shameful what they did in the first place, right? Like the idea that you would categorize people exercising their constitutional right to protest, and you would arrest them, one, and characterize them to try to smear them as gang members, two, and then you get caught and there are no repercussions. That's just chasing bad with bad. And again, like that's why people in the community have no trust and don't see you as credible, right? And therefore cops have to behave like little wusses at every corner because they think the people are against them.
Yeah, well said, brother. Let me shift gears for this story. We all get upset about social injustice on some level. Normal people get upset about things like unarmed people being killed, systemic oppression, racism, and bigotry, right? Here's what people who are not normal, here's what they get upset about. Anti-masker parents formed a mob, an angry mob, because their school system reinstated a mask mandate policy. The mob of parents threatened and heckled everyone who decided to wear a mask. Here's some of that video.
There's a bad place in hell, and everybody's taking notes, buddy. Keep that little smug. Yeah. Put your mask on. Kids sucking that bacteria. How do you like that? We know who you are. We know who you are. Keep it calm. No more masks. Keep it calm. Keep it calm. No more masks. We're on these guys' side. They're on our side. No, they're not. They're not on our side. The police are on our side. The police are on our side. Let's calm down. Yes. Calm down. We know who you are. We know who you are. You can leave freely, but we will find you, and we know who you are. We know who you are. I know who you are. Let him out. Let's let him out. Let him out. You better watch out. You better watch out. Everyone, peace. We believe in peace, but we know who you are.
This is happening because people are wearing a mask. That's a personal decision. This is happening because the school system said we now must reapply the mandate for children to wear masks because they are suffering. This is what these individuals got upset about. According to details from NBC News, children have shown more symptoms with the Delta variant of the coronavirus than with previous strains. And they have increasingly been hospitalized in recent weeks. Children's hospitals in states that have high transmission rates have begun to battle bed shortages. NBC News reported that recently, okay? The FDA, Food and Drug Administration, has issued emergency use authorizations for COVID-19 vaccines for adults and children over the age of 12, leaving younger children more vulnerable to infection. The FDA said last month that it hopes to offer authorization for children under 12 by early to mid-winter. Let me go to what happened inside of this meeting, okay? There's a person that calls themselves a Hollywood star. She had some stint of success, but here's what she said at the meeting.
Hi, my name's Lee Allen Baker, and I'm a California refugee. I gave up everything there, a really successful Hollywood career, television shows, gave it all up for freedom and to come to this friendly place of Tennessee and be greeted with open arms, and I love it here. I wanted to tell you that I have 2 vaccine-injured children, And they have medical exemptions because after the seizures and the hospitalizations, after all of their immunizations, I was granted, obviously, a medical exemption. So my children are those rare children that will just not be able to get the vaccine. And still, I would never put them in a mask because their brain needs oxygen to grow, which the neurologist can confirm. Anyway, the real part of the clown show is that you all think that you actually have the authority to mandate this. Because there are these books that I have, and I have them as a gift for you. The Constitution and the Declaration of Independence, the Bill of Rights, and the Federalist Papers, and also the Bible. And these guarantee my freedom and yours and our children's to breathe oxygen.
Fascinating. I'm flat out of time for the linear broadcast. Big Waz, how can people follow you, check out your shows? I don't hear you, Big Waz.
Whoops, sorry, I was muted. Please follow me on every single social media platform. That's BIGWOS, anywhere. And of course, check us out on Twitch, Wozny, every Tuesday at 10 p.m. Eastern. Please subscribe to the Woke Bros with me and Nando Vila. And yeah, and if you love the NBA, check out our coverage at theringer.com.
You do a great job, big homie. Thank you for all you do, brother.
Thank you, appreciate you guys.
Absolutely, we got more. Stick and stay, indisputable.
I'll predict right here for you, Chris. I think Donald Trump will leave office before his term is up. He'll be humiliated, embarrassed, and I know him. He's not gonna wanna lose, and he's gonna run for the hills.
You got that bet all day long.
Okay, let's get after it. Now, so look, Jake has made some good predictions, and this is in good fun. I could not disagree more.
There's a little bromance between the two of them. You got that bet all day long, Janky, you. Oh, you stop. In the meantime, let's call him out on the damage.
But
I just got a Roku set. Did basically a little bit of channel surfing, and I was like, there we are.
Yeah.
There we are. And then I turned it on, and it was John and Brett on Damage Report making fun of me.
Oh no.
So you are so busted. I even took a picture of it, okay? They're talking about my predictions. I got a new prediction for you, John Iadarola.
You're doing a show that's blowing the doors off everybody.
Young Turks is the largest online news network, not a big deal. We're gonna rock the boat. We're gonna be counter-establishment. We're gonna tell people the truth to the best of our abilities. We're so sick of this corruption. We're not the robots on TV. I actually care about the news. Guilty, I care. Fourth day on Occupy Wall Street. Last night we launched Wolfpack. It's us pushing our ideas out there, trying to help the country in every way that we can, trying to make this place just a little bit better. Reporting from the Hillary-Bernie debate, I gotta be honest, you know what we do, we cover it for real. For us, this system isn't working. Free and fair elections.
And when he told the cops that day, when they came to drag her away, and he said, if you're gonna chain her, you're gonna chain me. If you're gonna arrest her, you're gonna arrest me.
Hi, I'm Bartholomew Joseph Kyle. I do audio for the main show, The Young Turks. I also do audio for Post Game. I started in 2006. I met Cenk Uygur at the Iraq for Sale screening that was directed by Robert Greenwald. And watching that, I want to figure out a way to be part of something that's genuine and authentic.
Welcome back to Indisputable. All right, we got some comments. Let's get to it. Mickey C, the silver-haired dragon, says, laughing my A off. I wonder how those racist cops would react to this old white woman who openly supports the gangs of Antifa and ACAB. Cognitive dissonance is a hell of a drug, says, talk about an unhinged, riotous mob, threatening people just doing their jobs, banging on cars, jumping in front of moving vehicles. Isn't that everything they were mad at the protesters for allegedly doing? Yeah. YouTube super chat, Tyler story. Jill Wagner says, if Sandy Hook and these continued tragedies do not move the gun lobbyists, what the hell will? This story has brought me to tears. Again, nothing will move the gun lobby other than money. That's it. They have no heart, no soul. Cobra Shaka Zulu put up change.org site /end police brutality nationalize it. The system doesn't need to be fixed, it needs to be replaced. I agree. Raja Harris, what's good, Dr. Rashad and Waz? I love your show and all you bring to TYT. It's my 40th birthday today, and your show makes me feel like I'm home with my brothers. But you are, okay? Happy birthday, homie. Linda M, can they change their name to ILBP gang? I like blueberry pie. It's about, your gang is just as legitimate as the gang they made up, by the way. Courtney, the SLP. Dr. Richey is a triple OG. Courtney, I am, Glenwood certified. Twitch, let's all tattoo ACAB on our knuckles. You're just going too far now, okay? Calm down, we know where you live. Right, the guy who was acting like the voice of reason and then threatening, saying we know where you live, come on. Red alert, shields up, I love that. That needs to be my ringtone. Doctor, I absolutely love this show. Keep up the good work. Thank you for that. Okay, next week we will restart our live bullpen sessions on Indisputable, okay? We will restart that. I'm looking forward to it. I need some live, fresh meat here, okay? Also, if you're watching me right now on linear, in order to check out my next segment, which is the bullpen debate segment, you have to watch me on streaming. The best way to do that, just go to YouTube, Indisputable TYT on YouTube, Indisputable TYT. Remember this, take care of yourself, take care of each other, and take care of this planet. And remember, the truth is always indisputable. Jennifer Nassar, Republican strategist, former chairwoman of the Massachusetts, am I right? Massachusetts Republican Party. And you have a distinguished career. You're an attorney at law, and you have said some things on the record. Some I agree, some I disagree with. But you became anti-Trump at some point, or at least you said things that were not in an apologist way toward Trump. So let's talk about some issues today. Welcome to Indisputable.
Thank you very much for having me here.
Absolutely. Let's talk about mask.
Yes.
There's this sentiment that somehow wearing a mask has become political. What are your thoughts about mask mandates? And do you think wearing a mask has become politicized in the conversation in America?
I definitely think it has. So I live in the great Commonwealth of Massachusetts. And we, despite being an incredibly blue state, we have a Republican governor. He's the most popular governor in the country. He is in his 6th year, 2nd term. He had mask mandates up until Memorial Day weekend. However, it was supposed to be in July that he was, or August, that he was going to lift all the mandates. But due to the CDC's recommendations, he jumped it and moved it up to May 29th. In Massachusetts today, anywhere you go. Now, we also have about 70% of our population is vaccinated. And so, we're doing really well on these vaccinations. Anywhere you go, you will still see people wearing masks. Even outside, you still see people wearing masks. And what I was told when I went into a store, actually I went into 2 different stores in Boston on either side of the street. Pretty much the exact same store, sell the exact same things. One store, please put your mask on. The other store, you can just walk in and out of. I was in another place where they said, these mask mandates, it changed too fast for us. So we're not going along with this. However, interestingly, in Rhode Island, which is an hour away from here, you can go anywhere in Rhode Island and no one's wearing a mask. That state is also a super blue state and it has a Democratic governor. And once that Democratic governor lifted that mask mandate, you know what happened. Everyone took the masks off. So I do think that it has become political.
Well, let's talk about this in the context of health. And I want to make some comparisons here because I think you guys on the right have missed the mark on your argument and debate about mask or mask mandate. Do you agree that masks actually do limit the transference of COVID-19?
100%.
So you agree with that? So
yes.
You're on the right side of the science. Let me pose this question to you. Do you think it is an intrusion of the government to say we have a mask mandate in our state?
I think it's good public health. And I think anything that is public health and public safety is something that we should abide by. I'm a rule follower more than I am a political person.
All right, so you just lawyered me right there. All right, all due respect, you're trying to lawyer me. Now, do you think it is intrusion, madam, for the government to mandate the wearing of masks? Is it in fact government intrusion or not?
Well, I think that some can say that it is an intrusion in telling adults what to do. However, we ask people to show ID to get alcohol. We ask for ID when we board planes. So the government is there for certain things. And I do think that the government is there to make sure that people are safe. And the mask mandates were to make sure that people are safe.
So let me do this one more time, Counselor. Counselor, do you believe it is government intrusion to mandate individuals to wear masks?
No, I don't think it is government intrusion if it is for a legitimate public safety. However, once the CDC came out and said, and here's where Republicans and Democrats, here's where it becomes political. When last year, when Trump was president, everyone kept saying to the administration and to Republicans, follow the science. This year, Biden's president, and the science is wrong, right? So now if you're vaccinated, you don't have to wear a mask, but the CDC can't be right. So now the science actually doesn't apply. So my feeling is it's not a who's in office, it's the CDC. Yes, follow the science. And if they said we don't need to wear masks, then once you're vaccinated, then I think we go for it.
Let's talk about the origin of the politicized nature of wearing a mask. Would you not agree that this whole thing was at first a health issue, but it was in fact politicized by Donald Trump and his surrogates, and that started the politicization of wearing a mask? Or do you think it started somewhere else?
No, I think it probably started with the administration. I mean, I think that the president, when this was all starting, we did hear conflicting information, right? I mean, I went on a plane on March 15th of 2020 with my 3 kids, no masks, because we were told it doesn't help to wear a mask. we were told store-bought masks don't work. So, and then all of a sudden the information was flipping. So I do think that it was the administration, but it was also the miscommunication and the misinformation that they were being given.
By who? Wait a minute. They were told clearly that mask helps. They were told clearly that COVID was a real thing. As a matter of fact, Donald Trump gave a secret interview where he said this thing kills children too. And then a few days later, he comes out and says it's gonna be here today, gone tomorrow. He represented an adversarial nature of what he was even told or what he told the journalist in that interview. So you can't tell me that Donald Trump was unaware of COVID-19 during that time. He wasn't confused about it.
No. I don't think he was confused about it. I think what I'm saying is
so he lied.
Fauci first came out and said to all of us, and we can go back and look at what was said in early 2020, in March of 2020, do not wear a mask. Normal people on the street don't wear a mask. It's worse for you to wear a mask. That was actually out of Fauci's mouth. I'm definitely paraphrasing, but he did say essentially that. He also said, don't buy any of those store-bought masks. Those don't help, and we need to save all of the masks for the healthcare workers. Then within a couple of weeks, it changed. That's when every child in America was making masks. Every grandmother in America was making masks. I was buying wife beater t-shirts from Target and making my own masks out of them, right? But because we were told not to buy these masks. So that's all I'm saying is that I think for someone like Donald Trump, who has always been the boss, he's always been the one giving the instructions, to be told one thing and then flipped around the next day, I think it also caused him a little bit of trauma, and he was a little bit upset by that.
So Jennifer, I'm gonna call bull on that. And so let me tell you where I'm gonna call bull on that. Fauci did say that a lot of these store-bought masks do not do what it should do to protect you from COVID-19. However, he also said in that same statement what kind of mask to get in order to protect yourself from COVID-19. So I don't feel that you're being completely genuine when you leave out the part of him saying, but here's the mask that you do need to get. And let's talk about the beginning of the pandemic. At the beginning of the pandemic, you had significant misinformation and individuals who simply did not know yet. But you're right, 2 to 3 weeks into the pandemic, there was what we call settled science about the fact that COVID-19 was an extreme pandemic and you needed to take these particular measures. That included masks, it included hand washing, it included social distancing in order to stop or slow down the transmission of COVID-19. That was clear. Fauci said it on the record, said it multiple times. All in healthcare and the CDC said a synonymous message after 2 or 3 weeks in. And then it was only the politics of Donald Trump who said something adversarial to the truth of every established organization in the scientific community. You cannot explain that away by saying Trump was confused. And if he's that damn confused, he had no business being president of the United States when every single scientific entity agreed that COVID-19 was a problem and that mask could help decrease the spread.
Right, which is why Donald Trump wasn't reelected. I mean, I think that you're actually proving exactly what happened in history, right? So, I mean, we see that leadership takes real leaders. Now, you have someone like Andrew Cuomo who took a bunch of elderly people and who had COVID and stuck them back in nursing homes, and then we had greater nursing home deaths in New York than in any other state around the country. You have other governors that didn't take it seriously or took it too seriously and shut down their economy, and the economy is having a tough time being rebooted. But I think at the end of the day, the most important thing, and look, you saw lots of people on the Trump campaign that were in a war room that ended up getting COVID. So I mean, this thing was real. It was definitely real, but there is a time and a place. And once we knew the science and everyone was wearing masks and businesses were doing what they were doing, and then the CDC came around and said, our numbers are lower. Look, at the end of the day, we all get flu shots I don't know about you. Every year I get the flu shot, I still get the flu, but I'm not dying from it. And so that's what we're trying to prevent is people dying. We're never going to get to zero. We're never going to get to 0 cases. But what we want to do is not see people die, whether they're old or young. We don't want people to die. And I think that was really a missed opportunity by the president at the time and his leadership not to say wear masks, wash your hands, don't touch your face, and just social distance until we get this under control.
Do you believe Cuomo's policy and his negligence, which I agree, I think Cuomo was negligent. You will get absolutely no love from me as it relates to that action. Do you think his negligence led to the death of individuals in these elderly centers or nursing homes?
I do. I think he was very wrapped up in the celebrity of it all. I mean, no matter where you were in the US, you would see the president and then you would see Cuomo. And then maybe you would catch your governor after Cuomo's address. But every day Cuomo was on like clockwork.
So let me pose this to you.
He got caught up in that.
Let me pose this. Do you think Trump's policies killed hundreds of thousands?
Well, I mean, I think it's a little bit different. Trump didn't
hell to the no, ma'am.
Trump
no, ma'am.
Trump didn't stick people in nursing homes together.
No, Jennifer, if Cuomo utilized your critical thinking here, utilize your Iraq formulation, if Cuomo's policies led to the death of individuals in his state, how is it that Trump's policies that you agreed ignored the same basic elements of what this virus would do? How is it that his policies did not lead to the death of hundreds of thousands of Americans?
Well, because I'll tell you why. Because there's a distinction here that you have to understand. In Cuomo's situation, as the governor of a state, he took people out of hospitals and said, please send them back to the nursing homes. In Trump's situation, it was people who were ignorant in certain circumstances that wanted to listen to Trump and not listen to the science, that were adults, that were not vulnerable. Cuomo took the most vulnerable and stuck them in a very precarious situation.
You don't think Trump supporters are the most vulnerable group in the country? Come on now.
Listen, I think if you are going to believe the thing you want to believe and you get sick and you die because you were listening to him, it is very different than having someone say to you, go back to that nursing home, and then all of a sudden the entire population dies because of that.
It's different, but it's not. One is death by policy and the other one not. They are both death by policy here. Both of those elements are death by policy. Maybe we won't agree on that, but I do find it strikingly amazing that you can call out Cuomo for his misguided policies and how they correlate to the death of our elders in this country, but you cannot make the connection to how Trump and his policies and his politicizing of this contributed to the death of Americans across the entire country. I don't get that.
Well, again, I will tell you once again, I think it's a difference of ignorance versus vulnerability. And I think when you are responsible, it's like being a parent. If you have a child who's 22 and you say, don't go out and drink tonight and vomit all over yourself, or you say to your 16-year-old, don't do this, you are much more responsible for your 16-year-old. You're much more responsible for the 1-year-old not walking into the pool. But if your 22-year-old just happens to fall into a pool, the 22-year-old is responsible for him or herself. And so that's the difference, is the vulnerability versus the ignorance.
Jennifer, we all know that children are classified differently based on their ability to understand and comprehend.
What's a person in a nursing home? A person in a nursing home is
we get that. I'm not debating on the fact that Cuomo's policy led to the death of people, okay? I'm not debating that. My debate with you is, how do you give Trump a pass when you can admit that his policies were adversarial to what was needed to protect Americans, and that he in fact started to politicize the issue, and it led to individuals not taking care of themselves. They died, Jennifer. They're dead right now.
I totally understand that, and I think it was a failure of leadership, which I agree with you on.
Failure of leadership led to the death of people.
It is a failure of leadership.
His failure of leadership led to the death of people.
If you're going to text and drive, Any law in the world is not going to prevent you from getting into an accident and killing yourself or someone else. If you are going to drink and drive, that also is not going to prevent anyone. And same thing with driving while intoxicated.